Hey, all right, we're doing this again, right? We're live, local, and late breaking here on the damn BCX. Hey, how are you? It's Campbell's Rambles, right? Throw that X up in the air and wave it like you just you can't give a care, right? You with me on this? Hey, Brian Campbell in your absolute face hole right here. It's Wednesday, March 12th. It's the 2000 to the 25, and I'm back after a week off. Apologies for skipping last week's ramble, but you know, 2 drink minimum, smoke them if you got them. We're hashtag blessed, right? Check out the, I mean, is there any joy better? Is there any joy better for a washed mid 40s adult male than the late afternoon hot coffee? Like, that's what I'm talking about. Okay. So, darling, yes, I was born a rambling man. Thank you, A. Torres. Thank you, brother. Okay. Trying to make a living, doing the damn best I can. So, last week, folks, I had to cancel last minute because, post recovery of one of the greatest felines in the history of this world, Reginald Jackson Campbell, sister Zoe decided to nearly perish on us out of nowhere. So it was a hairy 24 to 36 hours. But thank you, folks, for your concern, care, prayers. I mean, yeah, thank you. Okay. It was a miraculous turnaround for Zoe the cat. I can't explain it, neither can the doctors, but it almost went really bad. And a day later she's home and everything they thought she had, she doesn't. So GG, good gamers. The cats are back. We're back. We're back. Okay, we're back. This is what we do. We're back. Was it scary? Yes, but we made it. Okay. So this is what happens in this show if you're new here. I'm a 46-year-old white male who enjoys long walks on the beach. And I, by the way, will be talking for 2 to 3 hours here in circles, in part answering your questions, and other parts just really losing my mind in front of a camera, right? You know what I mean? That's the way it goes in these parts. So I hope you guys are doing well up here. I hope you're doing well physically. I mean, I don't know where you're from, but out my window, spring has sprungeth, and we could use that daylight. Okay, we could use that optimism. We could use all that stuff going on out there. So shout out, yeah. Mikey said it best. Shout out to all those crazy cats. The cats in my house, the cats in this chat. Um, yeah, we're here. We're here. AG1 is here. AG1 is in the building. Okay, that's what I got. I got plenty of drinks. I got 4 different varieties of drinks here. All right. We're going to drink them all, though. Okay. We're going to get in that. We're going to get in there, Jay. All right. We're going to get inside of the box, just not on camera. No, actually on camera. Yes. Sorry, Jay. Thank you very much. Let's get update on life here. Let's get an update on the channel, right? Whoops, I keep hitting the wrong button. So I'm rambling right now. Thank you for joining me here at 4 p.m. Eastern. This is what we do most Wednesdays. Tomorrow, Thursday, the 13th, tune in live, 11 a.m. Eastern. Rafe Bugs, BC. We're going to get inside the box. Yeah, I got a few different combos here. All right. I found an old Gatorade in the back of the garage. We'll see what year it is, right? It probably tastes the same, hopefully. We got a few different liquids here. Rafe Bugs and I are going to go inside the box tomorrow, 11 a.m., and we're going to go deep on the TKO takeover, Turkey Dana, all that, what this means for the box. There's been some really kind of important interviews that have been rolling around from Dana White on Dan Rayfield's podcast, Lou DiBella on Ariel's show yesterday. There's a lot of nuggets, tidbits, potential notes of interest. I hope you guys checked out the Boxing Esquire podcast with the great Kurt Emhoff and John S. Nash. A lot of topic of conversation surrounding this TKO takeover. So we're going to get to that tomorrow in a big way. And don't forget, set your clocks by it. Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. We're back. We're back with Morning Combat. So it's going to be a fan-friendly Morning Combat. We got a lot. You guys responded. We got a lot of videos coming our way. Fan subs, dead wrongs, and of course your response to the questions we had on Monday about the UFC, what direction this promotion is going, the star power level, all that, and then some. Tall, pale, and handsome. The super chat will be open for you, top of the hour ish, to get your concerns, your questions, your comments put out there. This is a club. This is largely a men's club of like-minded, washed individuals who come together once a week and talk about everything from mental health to 70s vinyl to 90s NBA to even combat sports in the world we live in. So, Whoomp, there it is. Thank you very much. And Thanks for joining me. I mean, it was a little scary with Zoe the cat. It's weird. I get that in this life there are two kinds of. I mean, I guess there could be a third kind in the middle, but there's two kinds of people. The kind like me, the kind like me and average Joe Art, where these animals are family members, and then the kind like on the flip side, where people are like, oh, your cat's sick. Sorry, but how else are you doing today? I'm not doing today. My cat was sick. Okay, that's what it is right there. But I don't know. They thought she had a stroke and a large heart, diabetes. There was a lot of things going on, but that cat's a fighter. All right, that cat's a fighter, just like her good old dad. So there you go. All right, there we go. Tiddlewinks. Yeah, here's the thing. There's multiple conversations going on at once right here. One out of my mouth, two in this chat, three in my head, right? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes Mikey and I are talking too, but yeah, that morning combat chat, there's a lot of misogyny and racism in there. I'm glad that you guys don't bring that ish to the BCX on here. So slow week for the BCX, but we're ready to ramble. We're ready to have a good time. Trying to figure out merch for MK in the future. We got some plans. We got some ideas. Life is slowly coming together. I know you hear that a lot from this end. I mean, things take time. Okay. Love takes time to heal when you're hurting so much. All right. I think Mariah said that once, All right. So much. So good. I mean, I feel like I could just turn the microphone on with the afternoon coffee once a day and we could just, talk to the inside of my brain. It'd be great right here. Right. I mean, how good does this feel? It's fantastic. All right. It's mid-March, almost time for this winter to end. You feeling what I'm feeling this winter? It sucked, but we got through it. We're gonna be ready. If I keep harassing these liquids, I'm gonna be in the bathroom soon. Yes, this chat does embrace art. There's many kinds of art. Yeah. But I haven't painted in a while. Speaking of art. I was hitting walls. I was hitting the wall of my own levels of inner brain creativities without training. But we're going to pick it up again. Found this picture, the greatest picture of all time. Really. I mean, tell me it's not. Tell me that in 2016, when I went down to Bridgeport, Connecticut to hang out with the NWO, that wasn't, one of the greatest moments of my life and potentially yours today, seeing this, you know what I mean? I should probably put this up. Actually, I've got a poster that's going to go back here that Average Joe sent me that's going to change my look for good. So we're going to get that going pretty soon. You should see my to-do list at home. It's never ending. There's books worth of it. Remember that time Jericho was counting down his moves that time in WCW? That's my to-do list, but I'll get to it eventually. Okay. I'm working on it. This chat is art. Thank you for joining. Thank you for bringing your brush. Let's get into a couple topics to kick this thing off today. Thank you. Topic number one. Hey, it took place this morning. The box was back down under. PBC's YouTube channel put on a little bit of a tape delayed airing of what was a main event down under in Sydney. I don't know if Long Island Luke's dad, Mr. Nocita, was there or thinking about it at all, for sure. But Keith one-time Thurman, the 36-year-old former two-time welterweight champion, former unified welterweight champion. You remember that guy, right? I have to say it like that because it's been so long. 3 years out of the ring since he beat Mario Barrios in that PBC pay-per-view main event. Barrios, of course, would go on to claim a welterweight title, certainly at the top of his game right now. And what was it, 3 years before that we got to see Thurman against, which I still think is the greatest performance of Thurman's career. It's his only defeat. It came against Manny Pacquiao. How can I say that's the greatest performance of his career? Because I thought he won the fight. And oddly enough, the great judge who lives about a mile that way, Glenn Feldman, who judged that fight that night, had the same score I did, 7-5 for Thurman, -1 point for the knockdown in round one. But we're not here to relitigate that score. We're here to see Keith Thurman, who was supposed to fight Tim Tszyu in the first PBC on Prime Amazon pay-per-view last spring. And of course, we remember what happened. He got hurt. Sebastian Fundora slipped in, and it was mayhem. And that was the beginning of a very tough year for Tim Tszyu. So how about Keith Thurman going in there against Brock Jarvis, the aggressive, a little bit raw, but powerful 154 from Australia, who, when he did put his head above water and stepped up to the level of a Liam Paro recently, we found out who he was, so to speak. There's limitations there. But to act like we didn't have questions for 36-year-old Keith Thurman would be unfair. I mean, I called Tim Tszyu's loss to Bakram Murtazaliev in Orlando last fall with on the PBC broadcast with Keith Thurman. And at that time, I'm going to be honest, he put a little bit of weight on. He wasn't sure if he was ever going to fight again. It was not, while talking to him off camera, a guarantee. But it was great to see one time look like the one time of old and go in there, shake off the rust and cobwebs, take some shots in the first round from a very aggressive Jarvis. But to see Keith in his 154 debut kind of hide behind the high guard for a round and a half, let Brock Jarvis empty the tank a bit. We didn't need Sal Pal on location to find out if he shot his load. But in round 3, I mean, the aggressiveness from Thurman was interesting because if you will recall, the tail end of his greatness, I don't want to say it was marred by a change in attitude. If there's any marring in what was on its way to being almost an all-time great career. I mean, don't forget, there was a point when Crawford and Spence were first rising at welterweight that nobody had a welterweight resume like Keith Thurman. Beat prime Sean Porter, beat prime Danny Garcia, right? Like I said, thought he beat Pacquiao. So it really was injuries. It was layoffs. It was a couple times where Keith Thurman looked like he could fall apart in ways that he shouldn't, i.e. that comeback fight in 2019 against Josecito Lopez, where he was nearly, knocked out on the ropes, took a beating, but held firm, survived that one. But the second half of Thurman's career, if we're being truthful, and you can go back to the Danny Garcia fight, which he won by split decision, but Danny always said, the critics always said, the second half, the championship rounds of that fight, Thurman was kind of running away from Garcia's power and almost got lucky that DSG didn't backdoor a win there by split decision. And there was this idea that Keith Thurman, formerly the puncher, hence the nickname, had kind of become a safer boxer. So to see him against a young lion, this inactive, this old, in the new weight class, and just be bouncing, the footwork was there, but he wasn't looking to full-time circle away. He was looking to sit down on his shots and absolutely bring it. And I'm not going to be out here trying to say Jarvis is a world beater. He ain't. He started at very low weights. He's raw. B-Vol 11, who I think knows this game a little bit, says Jarvis struggled against smaller opponents. So the ending was inevitable. That being said, it was the right fight to introduce Thurman to the Aussie crowd. It was. And it was the right comeback fight at the right time. And I get what people are saying. Maybe it could have or should have been a bigger deal. Why is PBC not televising this as opposed to just putting the stream on their YouTube page? But this was more about what they're trying to set the stage for. Australian TV, No Limit Promotions, who backs Tim Tszyu, they know what they're trying to build, and that is to get back that fight. Tszyu versus Thurman that we were supposed to see in early 24. There's already a plan in place that should Tim Tszyu defeat Joey Spencer in his own comeback fight April 5th, which is April 6th down under, based on the way them clocks work, if you know what I'm saying. Tim should win that, but obviously we've got to see it. The two of them, in theory, although it's not been signed, and that's a key note that I'll bring up in a second, but in theory, if Tim Tszyu wins, you're going to see Tim Tszyu versus Keith Thurman in July. I believe it's the first half of the month, and I believe that would air on Amazon in the States, would potentially take place down under, and would be a pay-per-view down there, and would be a much more important fight for both of them than it would have been had they done it back in 24, in my opinion. Because if you remember when that fight was booked, it was, oh man, Keith has been inactive. He's kind of potentially washed. Now he's moving up in weight against this killer in Tszyu. But look, things change. And I think that suddenly this fight is potentially very interesting, because even with everything B-Vol 11 and I established regarding Brock Jarvis's true ceiling or craft or credibility as a fighter, the fact that Thurman was explosive, quick twitch fiber, maybe he was a little aggressive at times, was definitely heavy on the front foot, was loading up on shots. But did you see the KO? Did you see the KO? Actually, not the KO, the knockdown in round 3 that set up the knockdown that ended it. That was that beautiful 3-punch combination which ended with that old school patented one-time Keith Thurman left uppercut. And I say old school because don't forget, this guy was a puncher on the way up when he first arrived on HBO back in the day. And the right fight, the right opponent, the right setup. Now the key is, right? Battle of the potentially washed. What are you referring to here? 9:15 a.m. I hope you're not talking about Zoo Thurman as the potentially washed. Okay. We got a couple guys. 2 Chainz in the building here saying Thurman Porter was one of the, dude, shout out to you, 2 Chainz, because you know this business. That fight in 2016 was on CBS. It did like 4 or 5 million live viewers. Over 3 million are saying watched it. Yeah. I wasn't at that one, but I was at the March 2017 Thurman Danny Garcia fight in Brooklyn's Barclays Center, which also was on CBS. People forget about that. That was a big time. That was back when being on CBS and getting that level of viewership mattered before the full streaming extension right here. But I said, let's put a pin or asterisk on the idea that these two are going to fight this summer, because even though that's the plan, and ultimately the reason, if you're asking like, why was Thurman fighting in Australia? Well, because they're setting this up. Thurman, though, I read the Boxing Scene article of the interview he gave after the fight. He says, not so fast. He said, I could fight Tim Tszyu this summer. But he said, no contract yet. And he said, look, I got to weigh my options. And I have seen, since Keith came back to life this morning, a lot of people asking for the fight that your boy BC, whether you want to clarify it as the beginning of my washed welters, contender season fantasy that I've been forming for about 10 years, or just 2 older guys trying to stay in contention, the fight that would get me pretty damn excited, I don't know about you, is not necessarily Danny Garcia or Sean Porter coming out of retirement and rematching Thurman, although I wouldn't hate that. It's the fight we never got of this era, of this great PBC welterweight era that's just about over. We never got Keith one-time Thurman against Errol Spence Jr. I mean, it is going to be interesting. We've been waiting for a Spence comeback for it feels like more than a year. It is interesting. You could go that way. You also could give Spence, who hasn't fought since July of 2023 when he got one-sided against Terrence Crawford. You could have him come back in a softer touch and then essentially, fight the winner of Spence versus Tszyu, or fight the winner of Sebastian Fundora, who's going to fight Cordell Booker on March 22nd, which is a week from this Friday in Las Vegas, on regular Prime Video, by the way. B Sizzle on the call with Mo Ronaldo and Abner Maris. Yep. Cup of hot coffee to the working man on that one, Stone Cold. Okay. I hope, though, 2 Chainz, we do see Spence Thurman before it's said and done. And it just felt good. It's weird. Abner Maris and I, and it's funny, I've known Abner Maris forever, interviewed him a million times. In fact, I found a picture I forgot ever took place of in 2014 where I took my kids to ESPN on my day off because Abner Maris was going to be there, and I interviewed him and he posed with my boys, and it was this awesome moment. Always been such a nice guy, but I never really knew him until we started working together. And we're both kind of in that same spot, lamenting that first generation of PBC stars. I guess you could say Abner is certainly one of those. I mean, he definitely had those monstrous action fights with Leo Santa Cruz. Seeing all these guys kind of be on the way out, or if not completely done, it's a little sad. It's a little sad. We had a great run with those guys, but I wouldn't hate it. Thurman Spence. I now really want to see Thurman Tszyu. Look, Tim Tszyu's going to have a lot to answer. 30 years old, 2 straight losses, one by devastating knockout. He was on commentary on this card. So was Sean Porter. So you got that perspective of guys who either know Thurman or want to fight Thurman. But that felt pretty good. That felt pretty damn good. Maris was a badass, great body puncher, except for that fight. What was it? The finals of that Showtime bantamweight tournament where that referee let Abner punch what's his name in the balls? Was it Agbeko about 4,000 times? Russell Mora was the referee. Thank you. Sometimes, these old facts, I don't know who knows them. I don't know who gets them, but I like that we've got some hardcores in this. So check us out 11 a.m. tomorrow if you want to get deeper inside that damn box. That's what I'm talking about. But, yeah, I mean, one time's relatively back, because the thing that you're really looking for is, all right, look, Alan W is supporting this show as he always does and just breaking through. I got a super chat. Alan, thank you for coming in here. And we got a lot to talk about today, Alan, about that film you wanted me to see. BC, your head is monstrously bigger than Abner's during the PBC broadcast. So, yes, I have a large noggin, Alan. I was wearing size 7 5/8 fitted hats in like freshman year of high school, okay? My dad and uncles have at least a size 8 head. It's what I'm dealing with here. Okay. Yeah, you're right about that. Thank you for your support of my head and this show. Thank you. All right. All right. Joseph Agbeko was an absolute badass. A good guy too, right there. I think he's from Ghana, right? Was always a big fan of that dude, King Kong Agbeko. I once covered his fight against Guillermo Rigondeaux in 2013 in Atlantic City. Boy, was that at that moment was the worst fight I'd ever seen. Take that back. Second worst. The worst fight I ever saw was the first night that Barclays Center opened, when Randall Bailey and Devin Alexander fought for a welterweight title. That's the worst fight I think I was ever present for. Whatever. Alan's back at it. Thank God you're tall. Yeah. 6'2", 6'1.5" barefoot, but you know, who's counting here? So Thurman's back. You really wanted to see punch resistance. Took Brock's shots fairly well here. Passed that test. Foot speed seemed to pass that test. Now, overall technique sort of adjusting as he goes, but a really good performance. It really, really good performance. All right. So that's the end of that. Lazy bed, 6'3" and toast. But yeah, I'm not rocking the Luke Thomas toast spacers, but shout out to that large man just the same. All right. That's topic one. So we'll see what happens. I can't wait to hear what Rafe Bugs has to think, because, you know, I'm all sunny and cheerful. Keith's back, 36, baby. Let's not look at the hairline. It's like he never left. All right. And by the way, did you guys catch any of those videos? Those the face off, the PBC Kate to Kate face to face that they did down under with Jarvis and Thurman. You forget how great Thurman is at selling fights, how much his voice is needed in this space. Heck, I liked calling fights with him. Now, is he, you know, I think he needs a little bit more experience. He's really good in the studio, Keith Thurman. I like the work he did with Sean Porter in the tail end of the PBC on Fox days. Certainly with more reps, he would probably get better, but he's a funny, charismatic dude. So to see the way he sold this fight with Brock, the trash talk, it reminded me of when in 2019 I hosted the PBC face-to-face in LA at the Fox studios with him and Pacquiao, where, you know, Pacquiao's not going to overly try to sell a fight beyond just being Pacquiao. And Thurman, you know, did the T-Rex arms thing. Like, he had the whole bit, and you forget how fun that guy is. So here we go. Maybe we'll get Zoo Thurman this summer, and maybe this guy will call that fight. We'll see. Also wanted to shout out, I don't know if there's any Aussies in this chat, but Ben Damon down under, great dude. So he was the play-by-play guy of this fight. He also did the in-ring interviews afterwards. I don't know him outside of, you know, seeing him at fights in the past, but got to know him a bit, and he's a really good dude. Would like to get him on this channel for an interview. So shout out to my guy, Ben Damon. Let's go to topic number 2. I can't stop thinking about this Ilia Topuria tease tweet. The one where he said, like, you guys won't believe it, stay tuned, get ready. And it aligns perfectly with this week coming off of Pereira versus Ankalaev. And really the tipping point in some ways of this conversation, which we're going to continue Friday in so many ways. Peter Davis rocking the Keith Kazoo pronunciation. So Keith Thurman pronounces Tim Kazoo, which is just hilarious, by the way. That's just great. It's fantastic. All right. This Topuria thing playing into the lack of star power at the moment, and maybe the lack of prioritization in building stars. I'm hoping, of course, that this Topuria tweet is not a John Jones level. I have a big announcement tomorrow, and then you tune in and he's repping some medical company. It's like, okay, that's cool, dude. But like, we really need to see you fight Aspinall already. We really need big, huge fights that get us super excited. Not super excited on the week to week because we're degenerate gamblers and bong enthusiasts. And that's not a slight at Luke Nocito, one of my favorite people on this planet. I'm just saying, like, when you want the overall health of your sport to grow, you got to give in and make these casual fights every so often. Real pause here for B-Vol 11 coming back in. Ben Damon has worked for Fox Sports Australia for a long time. He can be a little one-eyed when it comes to Aussie fighters, but what can you do? I mean, you know, maybe I can be a little one-eyed when I'm chewing and this eye's going all over here. I mean, it happens, right? It happens, right? Okay, there you go. And as Alan W., great supporter of this show, Thurman, amazing at blowing that weird pipe. I wonder if he still does it. I'd like to get him on this show where we don't even talk about boxing. He just plays that weird pipe the whole time. That'd be the weirdest moment of my life. I would have to do it. Okay. Let's talk math. Let's talk MMA. Here we go. I know I said it on Monday, but I mean it. And I've been thinking about this, and not just because Donald Trump today gave that weird soundbite saying Conor McGregor has the best tattoos of any fighter of all time and he loves him. I mean, anyone see Conor McGregor at that Limp Bizkit concert that he was tweeting about going to? And then at the concert in Scotland, Fred Durst gets on the mic and says, "Hey guys, what do you think about Conor McGregor? You're a hero." And they're booing the shit out of him. And Fred Durst is like, "Oh yeah, I think Conor's here." And he was. I mean, it's not that Conor doesn't have that kind of reception coming. And it's not that I didn't know that Ireland had turned on him a long time ago. Yeah, concert in Ireland. What did I say? Did I say it was somewhere else? I don't know. I speak fast and it doesn't really know. But shout out to Filio Tardo, my guy right there. It was a wake-up call to like, oh, how the mighty have fallen. A, that Conor would waste his time going to a Limp Bizkit concert in 2025, and B, that he would go to said concert. Thank you for dead wronging me in real time, people. Did I say Scotland? Yeah, I got an old brain right there. All right, it was in damn Ireland, but like to go to that and then just get sent to hell like that, it's wild. But I bring this up for a reason. They got to cash out Conor now because he may never fight again, or he will eventually. But at this point, at this age, at the 365 days plus of partying like a rock star, you know, could he beat an old Nate in a trilogy fight? Maybe. Could he beat a Chandler? I mean, maybe, but I doubt it. You know, I think we all saw where that was going to eventually go. If he doesn't knock out Chandler in the first round, he's going to succumb to gassing out in some, form or just have another injury. That in light of this topic, of this argument, of this talk about the value of building stars and really the value of having quote unquote super fights that are aimed at casuals that every once in a while just revive your engine. And I know that we don't think about that a lot anymore because the UFC has completely changed their financial model. It's all about content. We know that. I don't need to waste another 10 minutes breaking that down. It's not about the highest of highs. It's about how wide can we go? Kind of like I criticized PFL for making a 25-year plan in year one and having 18 different brands. And we're like, we don't even know who you are anymore. That's obviously what UFC is doing, spreading it out. Let's fill every weekend. Let's what have you. But damn, you need these type of things that recharge your fan base, that bring in more people, that bring non-specific hardcore fan fight interest to big pay-per-view weeks. We're just not getting that anymore in this era. So if that Topuria tweet is aligned at all with the teases that Dana ended 2024 and opened 25 with, those consistent teases of, oh my God, there's a fight that's being talked about that will blow you guys away. At first, even this thought of Ilia Topuria versus Conor McGregor in 2025, it was just sort of like, this is such a wonky fight that you might as well just do it. And Conor's going to get handled and it's going to be gross and blah, 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 blah. But in light of everything we're talking about, this is the damn fight to make. The time is now. The handoff is here. Topuria could be that dude. Obviously, I'd like him to go directly into a Makhachev fight to find out right now 1 versus 2 pound for pound in the new division. But I get that there's other factors in play. Do you reward him with a day one title shot? Is Makhachev going to stay around in this division and move up? A lot of things going on at once. It's also crowded atop that lightweight title picture. But this would be the best use of what is left of Conor McGregor's brand. And right now it's a villainized brand, rightfully so, to serve him in there against the next big thing who's following the Conor sort of blueprint of blowing people away at featherweight and then strategically at the right time leaping up to 155. I don't think, and Bivol, who's speaking truth today, Bivol 11, I'd be amazed if Conor can make welterweight today, let alone, this has to be a welterweight fight. And even though Topuria was a 145er yesterday, the advantages are in his favor, and we know that. I mean, let's be honest here. It is. But I still think selling it to the casuals, the size difference, who's this Topuria guy again? I haven't watched since the GSP Silva times. Is this guy I should care about? Yeah, you should. I think it's going to go bad for Conor no matter who they put him in with. So you might as well end the idea that he is even close to an elite fighter anymore by making this fight having him do the JOB, which he will inevitably. And then from there on out, he can either finish it out with Nate and then go do his BKFC thing, or maybe they sign him again based on the TV deal they get and he just fights old guy fights, because that's all you're going to get. But I'm not even confident you're going to get more than one training camp out of him again. How could we be when he pulled out last year with the broken toe? He's been out forever. I mean, it now is the time. So interesting. I now want that fight. I now think it's the right fight to make. And I think that I'm hoping that somebody's trying to break into this office. Is that Reggie? Or I'll keep you updated on that. I felt a little tug at the door, a little push right there. I'd put that in Spain. I'd do something crazy. And I know we talk about it ad nauseum that Dana doesn't want that. He can't control everything. He wants the fan experience to be tight in arena. He can, I get that. But hey, TKO. Hey, Dana White, Turkey, and TKO. Rumors are you're going to launch your boxing thing with Bud versus Canelo at the damn Allegiant Stadium. We've been waiting for somebody combat-wise to plug in there. Start doing these type of fights when you have them. If you can do Aspinall Jones. Now, granted, at this point, we'll take Aspinall Jones in the damn Apex if we have to. And I think that's probably going to be a T-Mobile. If they can pull it off, International Fight Weekend, it'd be a hell of a main event. It'd be huge. I want the UFC to get back to being the UFC. These are the type of lightning rod fights you kind of need. So let's get out of these arenas. Let's go to the stadiums. I'm not saying you have to follow the Turkey blueprint of just mixing it up and going Times Square and Alcatraz and all that. And I don't hate those ideas, by the way. That's fun. If you can pull it off, if you have the money, if you can make it work. I'm just saying, let's get big. Let's try to get that feel that AJ gets when you pack 80 to 90,000 in Wembley. Let's get that going in the UFC. All right. We did. Tiddlywinks, you know what's up. We're always doing it for that nookie until we get married. And then we don't have, then it's, we're doing it all for the afternoon coffee, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. All right. There you go. Yeah. Okay. Death by BC, call my mom. Okay, this is getting out of hand. I'm a texter. Okay, everybody knows that. All right. So there's Alan W is already asking me questions about Nickelback. I just watched 2/3 of that Nickelback documentary last night on Netflix. That was interesting. Maybe we'll talk about that today. All right. My final topic, before I open the floor up to you fantastic people. I think we got a lot to talk about. It's been 2 weeks, right? Yeah. Is Paul Hughes in PFL. I don't love what PFL does on the daily basis, the decisions they make. I mean, right now, in theory, would be the best time ever for PFL to get their shit together, where UFC is asleep at the wheel, just rolling out the pre-planned, 12 months in advance, we're going to be in these cities, and it's a soulless. I don't care what you think. It's a soulless product right now. This would be the time for PFL to bring that ECW spirit in there. If you can compare it to pro wrestling and being a disruptor at the party and trying to bring a fun product that matches fun fights and fun locations and all that. Unfortunately, they don't fully have their shit together or know the direction that they're going to. It's repeated that we see this. I saw that they announced the brackets for the tournaments, and it's like same old shit. Okay, you took out a couple PFL regulars, but you subbed in some third-tier Bellator names. Same old shit. Only this year, they're making half the amount of money, and it doesn't even matter. It's not even a title thing. Argument for another time. We've been up and down this. But it's like, we're all waiting for PFL to do anything since they had that great start to the year of Paul Hughes versus Usman Nurmagomedov in front of a live damn crowd. And they're following it up with meaningless tournaments with second and third rate fighters that don't even include their best talent. The kind of talent that you'd go, man, I'm not a big PFL fan, but Patchy Mix is fighting tonight, and I need to see that. Or Aaron Pico, who's probably never going to fight for them again. Or Patricio Pitbull, who's now with UFC. On and on, you know where I'm going here. But they did two things in this past week that I do like. A lot. Okay? A lot of questions coming in about Dakota Ditcheva. I think that they're showing you that they're not going to put her back in the tournament, that they're teeing her up for pay-per-view. So, yeah, I got a lot of questions about all of these names, by the way, that are not in their tournaments, that are actually some of their best fighters. What kind of plans do you have for them? Are you just going to throw them all on the same pay-per-view twice? I don't know. They can figure that out. But the reveal this week that in 2025, even though they're taking an unacceptable, 2 to 3 months off after that huge Hughes Usman Nurmagomedov fight where you would want to build instantly off the momentum, they're trying now, which is good. I'll get to the Paul Hughes news in a second. But when they announced this week that, what was it, 70% of their cards in 2025 are going to be on foreign soil, and I know that covers everything because they have way too many brands. They are the restaurant in Kitchen Nightmares that Gordon Ramsay shows up to, that is in debt and has expired food in the freezer, and he opens the menu and it's got 400 items on it. And like every single episode of Kitchen Nightmares, spoiler alert, his first bit of interest is to go, you don't need to sell every food imaginable because you can't sell anything that tastes good and no one's coming to your restaurant. Let's focus on the 3 or 4 things you do great and make that, okay? But so this 70% is covering PFL MENA, PFL Africa, PFL Europe. It's all over the place. But at least it's going to be in crowds, because as much as we complain about the UFC Apex, and we should, PFL is basically running their own Apex shows whenever they run their meat and potatoes, their regular season and playoffs, which has now been switched to single elimination tournament. They're doing it in tiny arenas where there's no one there. There's like almost purposely no one there. So the idea that the fights that they're going to start to roll out that matter, and I'm going to be honest with you, the fights that are involved in this new single elimination tournament do not matter. We just said that. It's true. So the only fights that do matter, it seems, involve the fighters that on their roster that we really want to see: Usman Nurmagomedov, Paul Hughes, all like that. So if they're going to put those in Ireland per se, or France, or weren't they in Saudi or Dubai, one of the two recently, and they actually had a pretty damn good crowd, then I don't hate that for them, because it's so much better, as we know from the Apex, to have a lively crowd. It raises the feel. It makes you feel major league even when you're not. So I'm actually not against that, even though I'm against the fact that it's spread out among all these brands. We've got a championship. We got a champion series. No one knows what that means. We've got a pay-per-view super fight series. You don't have enough pay-per-view fighters. You can't get Francis to fight more than once. You lost Kayla. Where's Cyborg? Were we going to just have her keep fighting Pacheco? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. So that's decent news for them to say, well, we're not going to waste our time in the US in tiny arenas with 50 people there. Thank you for doing that. And then they're going to go back to Dublin with Paul Hughes. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. May 10th. So it's actually not that bad of a turnaround in terms of time when Paul Hughes is going to headline a PFL Europe card in Belfast, Ireland at the SSE Arena. And he's going to take on a veteran who's not a world beater by any means, but the 17-5 Bruno Miranda, aka Robusto. Do I know a lot about Bruno Miranda? No. But my point is here that almost doesn't matter, because a lot of people found out who Paul Hughes actually was if they didn't see the upset of AJ McKee before this, or, maybe the first time they did see him was this Usman Nurmagomedov. What's the number one thing you should do when you don't have a deep roster and you can't mix and match competitive fights that people will care about? Keep your stars busy. I'm all for that. I get that it was tough for PFL that as soon as Francis came over as a free agent, his boxing career just took off. They didn't have the leverage in the contract to make sure that he fought a certain number of times or that he prioritized them over boxing. But I would have been a lot happier. I'm sure they would have too, if Francis never went to. I'm happy for Francis for his own sake that he went into boxing and made a lot of money, whatever. But they should be rolling him out 4 times a year against literally anybody. Dennis Goitsov, Bruno Capeluzza. I mean, I'm mispronouncing these guys' names because that's what they have. They got they just have a bunch of names. You got to roll those out. So just to get Paul Hughes back in any form, good. Get it back in Ireland, great. It is PFL filling in the blanks of areas where, it's like, I guess when they purchased Bellator, they purchased the proof, because Bellator did really well going out to Europe. They were there a lot They got good money for that. The crowds were into them there. They could feature a lot of local stars. That's great. We need more of this. But just getting him back doesn't fix the fact that no one really knows what this promotion is, because you've got too many things going on. Wouldn't it be awesome right now if they were smart enough to go, forget everything we've told you. We're coming back next month, and we're not doing a tournament. We're not doing a regular season. We're not doing a Champions League. We're not doing this and that. We're going to put all of our eggs in one basket. And I'm not saying you can't have regional feeder leagues. I'm not saying that's not a smart idea for the future. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying take everybody on your roster that matters, put them in the same grouping, and award titles in the divisions that you're going to promote to your best fighters, so that every time people fight, it's a step closer toward the actual goal of fighting, to prove that you're the best, to win a championship, to make life-changing money. Imagine if it's the kind of thing that TKO is announcing that they're going to do in boxing. How are they going to compete? How are they going to be different? Well, they're saying they know that right away they're not going to have access to every big name or what have you. They're going to roll out prospects. They want to do 8 weight classes or 10 or 12 as opposed to 17 that we have in boxing. Like, that's smart. Some of it, though, is out of necessity. Imagine if PFL was like, we looked over our rosters. We feel like we can populate 6 or 8 divisions, whatever it is. But here's our best fighters. So it's not like, oh, Paul Hughes is back, but it's on a PFL Europe card. What does that mean? Is Usman Nurmagomedov the champion? Is he the PFL champion or the Bellator? I don't even think they know. That's the point. So I know I'm spending all this time ripping them, but I'm ripping them to say, like, these are good developments and good moves, but I still don't think you're getting it. And I still think you need to recreate the magic of what was Usman Nurmagomedov versus Paul Hughes and put real stakes, put your only title. Don't give out belts for meaningless pay-per-view fights. Stop all of this extra bullshit. Get down to the simple core, make fun fights, make these people have quick turnarounds, and get people excited about the 3, 4, 5, 6 biggest names you have. You do have enough between Dakota, Usman, Paul Hughes, AJ McKee, Patchy. Imagine if they had Pico at the moment. Like, you've got a core there that you could do. You can even toss like a Brendan Loughnane, like, the few guys in PFL who have kind of elevated above and become consistent people that we kind of want to see. I don't know, man. I don't know. But I won't be here all day talking about PFL. In fact, that's the end of the PFL discussion, because BC takes 2 weeks off for this. The amount of paid questions coming in, people want to talk about what they want to talk about right damn now. Okay. Any other lingering thoughts on the PFL? Let's hear from our boy Bevo. I still can't believe they let Lorenz Larkin go. I mean, I still can't believe they bought a promotion without checking or realizing how much these Bellator guys are getting paid, and then just thought, well, yeah, we'll just sit them out and then they'll just sign up for less. That's not what's going to happen. That's not what is happening. Unbelievable. We said it before. We said it again. There are really smart people at the PFL. I talked to some of them. Some of them have decorated household names in mixed martial arts. Can we stop letting Don and Peter make all of these decisions? That's just my 2 cents from the outside looking in. All right. Yeah, look at this poolside JVD. That's my guy. That's my quality bloke right there. Who has Paul Hughes beat that's better than Chris Algier? Regis Prograrius? I'm mixing old jokes from different podcasts together. You got to be a BC hardcore to understand half of what I'm saying is really what's going on here. But thank you for joining today. All right. PFL just needs teams and mascots. Yes, and a roster over 40. So really at this point, if you're the PFL, just merge with the GFL. I mean, imagine how brilliant that would actually be. And I don't say brilliant on the idea that old fighters fighting old fighters is like the formula that's going to get you ahead. But remember when Bellator carved out a nice Spike TV presence for itself, putting those old guys together, doing stupid ratings with Kimbo and old Shamrock, but fill in the under fights with the guys like Michael Chandler that you do want to see, or that people could stumble into. Imagine if we could roll out, Paul Hughes in the main event in a fight that matters on his road back to the PFL lightweight title. But then the co-main is Rockhold versus Weidman too. They kind of actually do need this, but this is what I can't fix the PFL on my own today. All right. The floor is yours. This is the transition here. Okay. Now we're going to hear from you, the people. All right. Refill your drinks, tip your bartenders. We're almost done with this coffee. We're blessed to be here as always. Zoe the cat, blessed to be here. Reginald Jackson's a terror. He's back, baby. He's back with a bang too, that guy. Dang. All right. So many liquids, right? One bladder. Who's going to win? That's the question. All right. Final PFL thoughts here. PFL needs Data 5000 to have a heart attack live on there. That would boost the ratings. I do give you that. I give you that bloke. I'm with you on that one. All right. A lot of Dakota questions. Yeah, I don't know who she's going to fight. I hate these tournaments, man. Unless you're telling me this is where they effed up. If you're stuck to the damn tournament model PFL, put all your good names in it and have the tournaments launch your inaugural PFL champions, not your old regular season and playoff champions. We know that era's over. This is the new era. Okay. New era caps, Texas, Tataz. You see that joke in the last couple of days? Wow. All right. Let's get into LNW, all the people that are here to talk to me. Okay. I do appreciate any super chat you guys are offering to me. Keeps the lights on. Appreciate it. Not obligated to it. As always, the disclaimer here, this AG1 tastes good. Makes me feel good. Okay. All right. Love it. Thank you. Shout out to our MK sponsor. Here we go. Let's hear from the people. This is 9:15 a.m. Thank you for back in the blue. No, back in this guy right here. Your boy Blue right here. Okay. Boy Blue balls. Yeah. All right. 9:15 a.m. Are the rumors about Luke being a clone true? Are you talking about Luke Thomas or Luke Rockhold or Luke Nocita? Not that I've heard of. There's no cloning going on in the Thomas household, but thank you for playing just the same. All right. We know Alan W's here. We know it. All right. A couple comments coming in from Alan W here. Great guy. Never met him. He's a mysterious man. He won't let me meet him. Okay. Surprised that Conor got booed at the Olympic skit concert. It's Conor's crowd. Yeah, not Scotland, Ireland. Man, they do hate the S out of him, and they again, they have reason to. And you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's hard. I mean, there's a topic about these Tate brothers showing up at Power Slap, UFC 313, now the Turkey Times Square press conference that they had in LA with Ryan Garcia and all those guys, and it's pretty gross. And I know BC, they're not convicted. I get that. But they seem like pretty gross people. And we do like Kid Rock make the Imperial March walk behind the president. I mean, what is going on here? This is not about right versus left. This is about weird versus weird. Okay. This is about decency. This is about what are we doing here, team? All right. Yeah. Oh, we got a question about it. Good timing. JP coming in there. Is that Jay Paquette? I hope it is over there in Nova Scotia. Thoughts on Dana Greed? And look, it's a slippery slope here because we do dunk on Dana and the TKO that's for the evil monster that seems to be forming the mega powers that's coming together of the two most power, or maybe the three or four most powerful people when you're telling me that Turkey, Dana, Nick Khan, Ari are all, coming together for this great think tank, that maybe it's easy to see anything and go, see, another reason I told you things are getting gross and they don't care about the product and blah, blah, blah. But this felt gross. This felt gross to red carpet. And I know it's not just, like I said, it's not just MMA, it's boxing. Ryan Garcia's friends with the Tates. That's a big reason why they were there. I know you could just as easily say you're going to have this moral code for these influencers that you may not want there. But what about these fighters that get arrested and do some really bad things? What about Conor McGregor or Tank Davis? They've had really bad. That's all true. Maybe because they're fighters, we expect it more. They're also the centerpiece of these events. They're the actual athletes. When you're making red carpet treatment of influencers your bread and butter to, raise awareness, traffic, social currency for you, I get that there's always going to be a weird mix of that, but this just felt particularly gross. I don't know if all of these allegations and rumors are true, but I know there's other smoke surrounding them that seems like it's leading to fire. I'm just like, these are the people that you're parading in. It's like, you got enough connection to like legitimate. You got Tom Brady at a Power Slap one time. You have enough connection to like legitimate, sort of mainstream, I guess, acceptable. This was pretty gross. I expect this type of grossness in boxing because until the threat of the TKO Saudi merger and takeover, there's been no central controlling body, whether that be a commission type thing or a league or a promoter. It's the Wild West. So a lot of stuff gets allowed to go through that wouldn't normally be great. Maybe I'm just old. Maybe I'm just old, guys. I mean, you do have to get to that point sometimes where you're like, maybe I just hit my limit and this is not for me. But yeah. All right. Let's get back into your questions from the people. There we go. We got more from Alan, and we like Alan W. a lot in this place. 10 years from now, Nickelback will be considered a great band due to nostalgia like Cream, and Alan W. Or sorry, not Cream, Creed. And Alan W. drops in a FML at the end of it. So Nickelback is of that era, of course, the worst rock and roll era of my lifetime. I could say parts of the 80s, which was my lifetime, aligns with that, particularly the first half of the 80s, which, you know, you did get legitimate rock like Van Halen, the tail end of AC/DC, or tail end of their prime, you know, the early Metallica. But mainstream rock at that time was so synthesizer, new wave, going in different directions, coming off of the disco era, that it was, I consider that a sort of bunk rock era. But there's no bunk rock era like post-grunge, which is the late 90s, which is basically, you know, grunge hits early to mid 90s. It's angsty, it's angry, it's heavy, it's legit. Like anything that hits, it's going to turn commercial, and they're going to be like, oh, this works, so let's get a bunch of guys. You know, it's like the whole boy band factory technique, or sorry, the whole Dana White Contender Series factory plan of bringing in nameless fighters for 12 and 12. So grunge became post-grunge. On the way to post-grunge was what I like to call the birth of like the alternative rock era in the mid to late 90s, as we went away from like real grimy grunge, Soundgarden, STP, right? Then we got into like almost a poppier alternative rock. Think Third Eye Blind, some, you know, bands like that are still acceptable, still like them, but it was more of a pop commercial version of what we've seen. Well, then when we got to post grunge, it was as gross as possible. It wasn't quite the tail end of the 70s when corporate rock broke out, but it was as close to corporate rock as you could get. Creed and Nickelback was of this ilk. This was a rock scene that was so overdone from a popular standpoint of the rock and rap merger, which has really only worked in ways that we like Rage Against the Machine and 311. I mean, there's other examples that have like, you know, but like that genre sucks most of the time. And that was kind of becoming the backbone of prevailing rock at that time, Limp Bizkit and all of that. But there was that pure sort of post-grunge real rock sound at that time. Three Doors Down, you know, all of these, but they all sound relatively the same. And it wasn't what was completely going on. In fact, during this time is when Napster broke out, and the accessibility digitally now to music, iPods, which are right around the corner. Suddenly you were able to access the quote unquote underground stuff that you would have had to have like college radio to access in the past. So was there actually good ass rock going on in this era of late 90s, early 2000s? Yes, but it was off the reservation. It was off the radar. We're talking about mainstream stuff. Creed and Nickelback were as big as it can get. And Creed has, as Alan indicates here, as we joke around on this podcast all the time, and Alan just is upset about the Creed revival that's going on in my heart. It's nostalgia, you know, driven, but it's also like, for as bad as that era was and as cringe as Creed became, man, there was that window where they rocked. And me, you know, and you can look back at that time because, you know, we're old and washed and we have old balls now in our 40s, but in our, you know, I turned 21 in 1999. So that's like that's the prime. There is that feeling with Creed that is like, it makes it acceptable to be fun and crazy, nostalgic, and embrace them again. Will we get there with Nickelback? And was Nickelback ever really that bad or ever really that worthy of the derision after their initial huge climb that ever was fair? That ever... That's a great premise for that Nickelback documentary that's on Netflix right now. I think it came out last year. And I tried to avoid it for a while because like we all have the same relationship with Nickelback. Like the first hit, you know, How You Remind Me, kind of like the second hit, and then it got corporately repetitive and, you know, aggressively mainstream. But I have to say, knowing almost nothing about the band in their rise, getting annoyed at them at around the time everybody did in the mainstream, what did I know about them? That Chad Kroeger, the lead singer, had red curly hair and that he was married to Avril Lavigne once. That's about all I knew about them. So it turns out, like most situations, actually, some good dudes in the band and brothers and a cousin that was originally there. So this documentary does a good job of showing the arc, the peak, and then how quickly that turned into derision, even though that derision was also met with insane, almost record-breaking commercial success. I think the documentary said they're the 11th highest selling rock band of all time in popular music. That's just ridiculous. But like, you're on the ride up with them in this doc and you're going, man, I forgot they even sung that song. And oh yeah. And you're like, you know what? They really aren't that bad. The early stuff is kind of hard, but then it became kind of softer and mainstream. But that's the nostalgia of the documentary. I then put some tunes on. I then went back and read reviews of albums, and it's like, no, they did suck. They really did. They did. It was like, they do have this sort of unoffensive, kind of angsty, kind of hard, but very accessible sound in their prime that we've all been 22 at a bar shaking our head to it. It's happened. There's been times where some of these songs were a piece in the soundtrack of my life. But for as freaking successful as they were, man, they were critically lambasted, rightfully so. They are a band that can produce 1, 2, or 3, or in the case of their fourth album, 5 like #1 hits. But the rest of it, falls quickly after that. Will they have that same level of resurgence nostalgically and finally get the due that they have for being, by the way, they have good longevity. They're really good to their fans. They're still super popular in their own circle and core. I don't know. Do they deserve it? Probably, because they did become an early meme and got hammered out. But I think at the end of the day, after watching that documentary, their sound is, even though they had much longer success and a higher peak, their sound's more hollow than Creed. Creed had a little bit more substance under the hood until Stapp became full-on Stapp. But that's my take. You may differ from that. You may have Nickelback playing in the background right now when you're listening to this. And we all have our guilty pleasures in this life, okay? What's this life for? Guilty pleasures, Creed. That's what it's for. All right. We can't linger here, okay? But thank you. Thank you, Alan W., for that great question. Let's hear from more of these people. What am I looking at here? All right, 9:15 a.m. Is Jake Paul the most famous current U.S. boxer? It's an interesting question, and thank you, 9:15, for the support of this podcast on a weekly basis. I guess in theory, so who are, it's sort of like quickly, who are the most popular boxers on the globe? Canelo 1, AJ 2, Tyson Fury 2B. Sometimes AJ and Fury kind of flip there. Could you throw Usyk in there by extension of having fought 4 fights against those guys? Maybe. Certainly at some point, Gervonta Davis is going to show up, and then you're going to go from there. But in terms of U.S. boxer, in terms of real boxers, quote unquote, it's Gervonta Davis right now. And while his pay-per-view numbers are never astronomical, they're consistent, but it's the live gate numbers. Wherever he goes in the U.S., he's essentially selling it out and breaking the live gate record even more than UFC likes to brag that they're doing. Like, it's pretty astonishing that one man can do that. But is he more popular than Jake Paul? No, Jake Paul is a household name now. He has completely crossed over. He has had his hand in enough different boxes, Disney Channel, the face of YouTube at certain parts, whether it was him or his brother or Mr. Beast or whoever. I mean, like, he almost represents that. I mean, I'm on YouTube right now. Look at this face as the face of YouTube, all right? Hey, look at this hair. No grays today. I woke up, fell into a bottle of Just for Men, and here we are. All right. Sometimes you gotta, sometimes, right? I mean, Ryan Garcia is climbing on this list, but I guess it comes back to, is Jake Paul a real fighter? I mean, he's close. He's close to a real fighter, but no, he fights full time, except for those 2 fights against journeyman guys who hadn't been fighting for 3 or 4 years. Except for those, he's fighting retired mixed martial artists or Mike Tyson or Nate Robinson. So he's still selling out. He's still like, doing big numbers, bringing huge attention, and having legitimate fighters on his card and even in his company. I mean, shout out to Jake and Eddie Hearn for going back to Netflix and getting Serrano Taylor 3 in an all women's card at Madison Square Garden. Holy crap. Would we have liked Ireland's Croke Park for sure, but for whatever reasons that go beyond my Dublin knowledge, they can't do it, or it's too expensive, or there's too much red tape, or what have you. So reluctantly, yes, Jake Paul is the most famous current U.S. boxer, even if I put him just below the Mendoza line of what constitutes a real boxer. That doesn't mean he doesn't train and work hard. That doesn't mean he doesn't take chances with his life, all that stuff. But you know the score, please. You know the score. Okay, thank you. All right. There's somebody just said something that piqued my interest. A wrecking ball. Are you and Luke Thomas breaking up? No, I hadn't planned on it at the moment. No, we seem to be good. I think we're doing. Somebody said this. I think maybe it was our producer Matt Snyder, or maybe No Seed at one point. Because we just hit our 1-year anniversary of this new era in Meadowlark, Manhattan, DraftKings Network. It hasn't brought the fruit that we thought we would have right now, but we also realized like this ain't Showtime anymore. And what we have though is I think it's pretty valuable. I think we're building nice, but the whole theme there that we are doing some of our best episodes ever, or a different version of ourselves, but that we're reaching close to the peak of that. I mean, your mileage may vary, as Luke Thomas would say. I get that, there's certain topics that are going to turn people off, whether they're political based or, oh, you guys cry too much about the UFC. But I think that we're doing really good work right now. I think we're focused. We're happy. We're trying to get this show back to where it is. So no, we will not be breaking up at this moment. Have we hit certain crossroads where we wanted to? Well, depends who you're asking. All right. All right, Alan, what are you saying? I've been in love with a lot of married women. Okay, right. That's see, there's conversations going on all over this bar right now. Okay, who's talking to me though? I don't know. All right, there you go. Wrecking Ball, what do you got to say? Glad to hear, but I felt you were having less fun and chemistry together lately. Well, I guess Luke has been more grumpy than usual, if that's possible. Here's what I will say about Luke, and I think, look, grumpiness is one of his character traits. It's one of his brands. You know what I mean? It's why this show has always worked in terms of the initial dynamic, the blueprint of putting us together. And by the way, when they put us together and we said we were going to do a boxing and MMA show, people were like, man, people don't want to hear that. No one's ever done that. And there's a reason why people don't want to hear that. So I'm actually really happy if we've done anything positive over the last 7 years. And I think we've done a lot of positive. The idea that it's now just accepted that boxing and MMA are in the same conversation. Ariel's show can be more boxing, more, than MMA most episodes. So can our show at times. I mean, we are trying to remember the core of the fan base and remember that in a lot of ways, MMA pays our bills, but damn, boxing's been doing big-ish. So Luke's been fine. We've been happy. I tell him this all the time though. The success of this show is always in direct relation to his mood. He knows that. That's the truth. That's the damn absolute truth. But I think we're doing good shit lately. That's just my opinion. But tell me if I'm wrong. Dead wrong us if I'm wrong. morningcombat@gmail.com. But don't show Mikey any of your privates at all. God, Mikey showed me some fan sub. We got some nudity going on. I don't know what's happening here. All right. We got more questions from these people. Mikey's just one of the better people on this planet. I didn't even realize that I got Reggie Jackson and Mikey's got Reggie the dog. I mean, that's just synergy right there, right? And he named it after weed. Amazing. Who would have thought, right? There we go. Yes. All right. We got people coming in. They've got good questions here. 9:15 a.m. is back. How can Ngannou do more than 10,000 pay-per-view buys for PFL? I don't know. I'm almost like they can't sign him up, it seems, for more than one fight a year based on the deal they have. And I know we celebrated that deal when it happened because it was Ngannou getting freedom and everything he wanted. But I think now, a couple years later, we can also look back like we do and say, like, he's kind of fleecing them. But imagine if you could plug him into this tournament. Imagine if this tournament was what I think they should have done. Like I said, put the belts on the line for this tournament and put your best fighters in there. Imagine if Ngannou was in there and we were going to get to see him keep climbing in a short period. I think that would do a lot to boost their brand rating, to get people to tune in more often. And I think that's the bridge that would lead to Ngannou actually potentially doing pretty good pay-per-view buys. Now, to do that, you've got to have an opponent at the end of the road that would draw that interest. But I think if he's in a path to a potential title, then you're building that storyline when you get there. And maybe him in the final of that tournament isn't the biggest matchup ever, but what about a first title defense against a free agent if you can get one? I mean, that's how you would do it. You would have to get you'd have to get somebody like a Derek Lewis or a Junior Dos Santos. And I don't want to see either of those guys really against Francis at this point, but somebody like that where you're like, yeah, I could suspend some belief here and imagine that might be competitive. It's kind of like when they sold Mosley Pacquiao. And at that point, we're like, it's not the same Mosley from the first 2 rounds of the Floyd fight. This is not going to be good. And it was worse than we thought. But you could still sell that. And they did, right? It's still selling that idea. I think you got to get a storyline here. There's no storyline when the guy's just going to arrive once a year and you're just going to be like, who's the livest body? I mean, like, would I hate him against Nemkov? No. But I'd love for him versus Nemkov to be for the PFL heavyweight championship. That's the way you compete. You change the discussion people are having by saying, man, PFL is not the UFC, but look at the top of their heavyweight division. It's exciting. That's the conversations you want people to have, but whatever. I can only speak so much about this. I mean, I'm just some dude in his basement at the end of the day, right? Yep. Street 1234. I don't know if this was a conversation with me or the people, but he says, I want to see Gian Silva, Lord Silva against BSD. Well, isn't Lord Silva at featherweight? But I hear what you're talking about. I wonder if that dude eventually moves up. You never sort of know who's going to move up and whether that will, instantly make them better than they were, dramatically better if the weight cut was holding them back. There's always factors in here, but Lord Silva's hot. The fighting nerds are hot. I don't love that we're just diving right into the let's kill Bryce Mitchell on the air and that'll make up for his comments, but we'll be making the money along the way. It's kind of weird and gross, but and now Street's like, yo, I misquoted myself. I meant Ruffy. Huffy, Bill Cosby, Ruffy. Yeah, that's a great fight. So that's part of this idea that this lightweight division has to reset eventually. We got a couple more left in the Chandler, Poirier, Gaethje inner circle of all-time great old action guys. We got to get this next generation ready. I know Fiziev just lost, but Fiziev, BSD, the tail end of what Gamrot's got left, like these are the guys that have to repopulate this along with Topuria on the top of this division potentially, because we don't know how much longer Islam's going to be here. Sarukian, can he have a run at the top of this division? I see people saying online that maybe they don't need Gaethje fighting Makhachev next, which I do believe will happen. But some of them are like, well, why don't we do Gaethje Sarukian? Because they had a little back and forth on the twit. Yeah. Any of these, I mean, Gaethje versus anybody rules. But any of these are great. Lightweight is always great. That's why when bantamweight overtook it, in my opinion, for that run as the best division in the sport, and I think in terms of UFC, welterweight is now making some noise that people aren't paying attention to in terms of the depth. But when Jed Meshew #2 would always drop that deuce of a comment and be like, it ain't bantamweight, it's lightweight for life, and defend it. And I'm like, well, it used to be lightweight. Maybe it still is at times. You know what I mean? Maybe it still is, because this is just the banger I just introduced to her. You know what I mean? Let's see what Tu Cheng says. PFL seems like a ship adrift with a moron as the captain. Maybe even 2 of them. Yeah, I've got that same feeling. I wish they would set adrift on memory bliss for me. Bum, 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 bum. Great 80s sample in that. You know what I mean? All right. Am I talking to myself? I don't even know here. Okay. Let's delete that question. Great stuff out of you guys. Great stuff. Great question here from Tu Cheng. I was going to have Mikey grab this video and I forgot to tell him. Maybe I'll get this video for tomorrow's Inside the Box, because I got to get Rafe's opinion. Shout out to my boy Todd Grisham, who, I mean, he's he's had some crazy jobs. He's done years in WWE with Vince McMahon in his ear. So he's a weathered, battle-tested announcer in these parts. But he hosted the second press conference for what will be this May 3rd or 2nd, May 2nd, Times Square card, the Friday, May 2nd, with, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Teofimo, Rowley, all that. The first one we talked about on Inside the Box, Dougie Fisher hosted, and it just wasn't the right vibe for the craziness, the Teofimo, the Barbosa that you have on there. And I like that they subbed in Grisham, and I like that Todd was trying to do what I would have done in that spot, and I feel like anybody would have. Stirred the damn pot. Look, people are going to have different opinions on how things should be presented or promoted. And you can always say, BC, you got too much pro wrestling in you. And that, that may be always true. But you got my opinion on that job is that is the damn job, especially when you have willing players, especially. So I didn't think Grisham was too harsh on Devin Haney, but he did go direct. I mean, to be fair, Dougie Fisher was way harsher. All the questions he was asking these guys were like built upon the most negative thought processes of the fans. And I'm not saying he shouldn't have asked that, but he was like consistent on people are saying you're washed. People, saying maybe you should retire to Jose Ramirez. So I thought Grish was just asking the right question. Maybe he was a little too matter of fact on saying that people think Devin doesn't have a chin after that last fight. But after this press conference, which did feature Teofimo slapping Arnold Barbosa, did see Ryan Garcia get back into being a little saucy Ryan Garcia again, and did get a lot of Teo in our face with a giant whacking paddle like he was one of O'Banion's crew in Dazed and Confused. You know what I mean? Oh, that fucker O'Banion. Remember that guy? Mitch? Yeah, I don't know if anyone's on this rabbit hole with me. So after the press conference, Grish interviews Bill Haney, father, trainer, manager of Devin. And Bill goes off the damn rails. Like, he's like, yo, you're a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Todd's like, me? And Todd had the great, like, kind of pro wrestling announcer response of, wait, what? That's a little, that's a little impolite. Well, explain yourself. And I thought, Bill then turned it into like, oh, well, you guys just didn't give my boy a chance and you guys were this and that. But then Bill went back to the well. I'm like, oh, yeah, and by the way, you're a piece of shit. And I thought Todd did great at not taking it personal, at not throwing it back and just ending the interview, but putting on a smile and kind of verbally ducking and dipping and having a little back and forth. Like, no, I want you to explain this. That was wild TV. Bill was out of line. But I get that, look, they've had a horrific year PR-wise. It's largely their fault, but I mean, it is and it's not. Has everyone been fair to the Haneys, even though it was Ryan Garcia who cheated? And I know we can argue how much of that Osterine made it, affected or could have made it. But look, it was a shit show week. Ryan acted out of control. He now actually admits that. So in the end, like, I do baseline feel bad for the Haneys, but they couldn't have handled that, in my opinion, any worse. From the lawsuit to, Devin did almost no interviews, I think, except for that Andre Ward sit down. And even in that Ward sit down, and Ward's a respectful dude who can command these type of interviews from people that don't normally do them. Even he in that interview was like, now how come you couldn't pick up Ryan's left hook by like the fourth time it was hurting you and knocking you down? But some of this they brought on themselves in the way they handled it. They talk a lot of shit too. So, and this is an era with a lot of Teos and Ryans who are going, and Rollies who are going to talk that game. So you got to kind of expect this. And even if this was Bill just saying it's not about Grisham, it's about us putting our foot down and saying we're not taking anymore. Okay. Maybe do that during the press conference. I mean, Grisham's there to entertain ultimately, but Todd did well right there. I got to reach out to him and let him know that. That was great stuff from Todd right there. That's not an easy spot to be in. I can't say I was in something as similar. I've interviewed guys and they've hung up on me, and Mike Perry said he'd find me, stuff like that. But like, maybe I had touches of that at the Diaz Masvidal Fan Mio press tour last summer, which was a walking shit show of them not wanting me there, but me having to execute and do the job, because that's what I'm all about. Somebody's got to put these kids through college next year. Okay. It's coming. Right. This is Jersey, the Cosmic One, saying managing that interview was high level by Grish. I certainly agree. Alan Dub's back at it. Todd is great. He should have the Michael Cole career. Yeah, it's interesting. I get why Todd eventually left WWE. I've had him on my podcast and he's told the stories and all that, but he was like a Vince whipping boy for a while, but he's got great stories and he's going on to do great things, going to Sports Center and now becoming think of the giant fights that Grisham has called in the last couple of years alone. They don't let him call every Riyadh Sisson fight, but they bring those British guys on too often for my liking. But Todd's done some big shit. Glory, did UFC. I mean, he called Michael Johnson Justin Gaethje. That's a great call that you sometimes see circling around. The highlight of Gaethje doing the backflip off the fence and Grisham going, Justin Gaethje has scored his ultimate highlight. Like those moments, come on, those are goosebump moments. Am I alone in that? Am I the only one that worships the art form of this here great craft? Probably. Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you for that question too, Sheng. You're always on the ball. All right. Whose balls? I don't know. All right, Alan W., what do you got for me? My boy BC is already ready with the. Oh yeah, these are some early questions that Alan threw in. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your support. I'm ready to rock and roll. You know that. Okay, Devin Tuck. This guy's a regular. People were like, remember we used to have Michael Carson here and Saul. Saul's the finest roofer in Louisville, but Devin Tuck a regular in these parts. All right, shout out. Meet you to say it down low on the D. All right, fish scales, brother. You know what I'm saying? What will it take for Conor to turn it around? He won't. He can't. Is it physically impossible for him? No, it's not. But it would take. But he's too far past it. And a little bit of everything is true. The Dana constant refrain of he's made so much money, blah 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 blah. That that is true. I mean, he has made the most money anyone's ever made in UFC. Then you count in the general endorsements of being that famous. And then you're talking next about the idea that he sold that whiskey company for that much money. So it is an extreme. It is an extreme level. Hold on. They're lighting up my phone. All right. There's an extreme level of reasons why you could fall down this rabbit. Plus, he did kind of call this from the very beginning. I mean, this is a guy that had so much vision. When you watch that original documentary of him before he made it to the UFC, it is it's startling to look back at how focused, driven, eye on the ball, plan, say it, speak it, receive it, believe it, whatever. Like there was magic involved. We know the backstory. But that he always sort of wanted to have this huge blaze of glory to the top and then kind of do what he wanted to and go on his own terms. And he kind of did, because the one thing I didn't mention from all that money he made was the Floyd Mayweather fight, which, alone could have basically given him reason not to care anymore for the rest of his career. But the substance abuse over the second half of his career, I mean, he even admitted it post Habib, that yes, he got into great shape for that training camp. And yes, he was ready to fight to the death, blah, blah, blah. But he didn't listen to his corner. He was, instead of training, he was just heavily sparring. I mean, he probably focused too much on takedown defense. But what a freaking debacle the second half of this career really has been. It's not just inactivity. It's serious. That's a serious leg injury that we still haven't seen him come back from yet. He's not going to turn it around because I don't think he wants it. He would really need to want it. And you say, okay, how do you get to that point? Well, you've got to fear that you're closing in on rock bottom. And even with everything that has happened to him, I think the fact that he still seems to be financially really sound, he's not going to hit that rock bottom yet, and I don't think he can pull off a train. I think he'll force himself through a training camp. Like I said, if they put Topuria on the line, he'll wake up and try his best with whatever's under the hood. But it almost needs like a spiritual conversion or, reawakening or something, or needs to have the legit threat of being on trial where he could go away for jail. And then that being sort of the rock bottom of, wait, I'm not 40 yet. I got one more chance to make good. That guy's not coming. As Rick Pitino once famously said, Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale not coming through that door. Right. So you got to deal with Chauncey Billups and Ron Mercer. Only you traded Chauncey Billups 40 games into his rookie year. I got the Celtics jersey in that closet, though, number 4. Okay. Nobody has that. Right. Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter at all. I love it, though. All right. I got a Yinka Dare jersey because I need it. That's why. Okay. All right. Devin Tuck back at it. Also, Alan W, please hire me. Alan W, what kind of business you in out here? All right. Do you need employees? That's the key question right now. Okay. Do you need employees? Because we got a few of them right here. All right. Thank you. Lazy Bed's here. You know we love Lazy Bed. This guy, he's a podcaster over there on Just Bleed Radio. I think I got all that information. Hey, I put it on the ether. You guys can have me on your show. I don't hear any. No one reaches out. I don't hear from Sandine. He's out checking the corners, if you know what I mean. All right. He's out there checking the train schedule over there in the Marines. Lazy Bed says BC. We're prepping to. Oh, this is about this. I got to be careful posting the things on the screen and not reading them, because it could have been like the Bryce Mitchell mind comp right there or something, and I'd be like, hey, this show's great. Meanwhile, they got 4 minutes of me talking over it. BC, we're prepping to have you on JBR Just Bleed Radio. Okay, you're getting into it now. You're getting into my topic here. Danger Mouse is ready to squash the beef. Thank you. Let's have a live debate on your show. Let's get to the core of it. Let's have therapy on that show with Danger Mouse. I mean, he fell off, not me. I think, I don't know. Dave knows a place for massages, and I don't want any of your organs. I accept your offer, Lazy Bed. Let's do this. Okay, let's do this. All right. Yeah. Well, that's an interesting comment there. Can you do an impression of Conor in a Limp Bizkit mosh pit? Yeah, that was interesting where Conor also said he would be in the mosh pit. People might take advantage of that and try to throw some shots right there. Tu Chang saying jail is the only way McGregor will get sober. I think you're probably right. It's probably the threat of losing his livelihood, or maybe the threat of losing his fortune, or what have you. I mean, I hate to dream up these scenarios of heartbreak that could lead him to actually trying again. I don't even know if he deserves. I mean, yeah, everybody deserves it. Everybody deserves a chance to put away their past. And but his Q rating's low for. I mean, what the hell's up with this guy? Damn. All right, Lazy Bed, what do you got for me? Better dunker, Spud Webb or D Brown? I love this type of randomness. You know, this is what I live for. All right. I mean, certainly you're talking about a 5'7" Spud Webb. So it's more ridiculous what he's pulling off at 5'7", not only winning the 1986 slam dunk contest in his hometown of Dallas, although folks, I don't want to rate on Spud's parade because he's always inspired me. Jordan was injured for that dunk contest, and Dominique really won it. Let's be fair. I mean, there's worse screw jobs or ones they got wrong. 88, Jordan Wilkins could be one of them, depending on what side you sit on. That year that Nate Robinson won his second, that was, I think they robbed Iguodala over that year. That was a bad one. And then who knows the last few years? Does anyone even watch it anymore? But D Brown was only 6'1", and he's a little man. He's a skinny little man. He could leap, he could score, and people will always forget how freaking cool he was in 1991 when he won the slam dunk contest wearing the black Reebok pumps and pumping it up before the dunks. I mean, that is even though 2000 is the greatest dunk contest of all time, or you can say 88, the Jordan Wilkins duel, or you could throw in, those years where Dwight Howard and Nate Robinson were dueling were great, all-time great. And maybe one notch below that, those years that Jason Richardson and Desmond Mason were dueling were also great. But 91 is awesome. And it was, I was in 7th grade, so it hit me perfect. I was a Celtics fan, so to have D Brown, people forget about that 91 Celtics season. There's a whole book Jack McCallum wrote that I read every 5 years on that whole season, because it's my favorite Celtics season. It's when that old guard of Parrish, McHale, and Bird had enough life yet left to kind of be a dark horse threat for the title. Kind of. But then they had this young core of Brian Shaw, D Brown, right? Reggie Lewis, Kevin Gamble, and they could run for old guys too. And there was, at the All-Star break, they were the number 1 team in the East, and, they would succumb to the defending 2-time champion Pistons in a very regrettable semifinal series in the playoffs, where they played old and they looked old. They were old, but during that regular season, they weren't. So D Brown, that 91 slam dunk contest has got that duel between D Brown and Sean Kemp. And Kemp, for being my favorite in-game dunker of all time, wasn't great at dunk contests because he couldn't manage his dunks, because back then you were only allowed 2 misses the whole night. In some cases, the rules would change often, but for the most part, this wasn't Chris Anderson in the early 2000s getting 50 attempts. That those years that they allowed unlimited attempts, that you could argue a lot of things have ruined the dunk contests over the year. Most importantly, the fact that the stars stopped wanting to do it. Most importantly, David Stern, if he really had a backbone, would have forced that. Okay, would have forced that. Would have made young LeBron do that. The other thing that hurt it, there was lack of creativity for a while. I mean, people, let's not forget, in 98 and 99, now we didn't have an all-star game in 99 because of the lockout season, but the darkest moment in my NBA fandom may have been the 98 all-star game weekend. Really good all-star game, 98. Madison Square Garden, Jordan with a triple-double, Kobe's out of his mind as a second-year player, just shooting the ball every time he touches it. Just hogging the ball, hogging it so much that George Karl had to bench him in the fourth quarter so that he didn't upstage Jordan, so that Jordan could get the MVP, in almost a pre-orchestrated pattern there, because they thought it could be Michael's last season. They wanted to award him for his efforts and maybe convince him to hang around. Don't forget about little silent conspiracies like that. But that was a great all-star game. But they canceled the dunk contest that year because they felt like no one had any new ideas. And to be fair, the dunk contests in the previous 4 years before that were largely abhorrent. Really, they were bad all the way going back to 91. 92, the first half of that dunk contest with Larry Johnson as a rookie with the Hornets was just putting on a power show. It would end with that very stupid Ceballos blindfold. Largely, that dunk contest sucks. I just always question, did the modern dunk contest of the 80s and early 90s end at 91 or in the first round of 92? Discuss it with your friends later. But the duel there with Kemp was amazing. Kemp, back to my point there, would screw up in very key moments when he needed to land a dunk that would win it. He would eventually miss that dunk. But that duel between Small D Brown and huge Sean Kemp in 91 in Charlotte was absolutely incredible. Rex Chapman in that, Kendall Gill, a few others. Kenny Williams on the Pacers bench also in that. D Brown's a better dunker. He's a little bit bigger. What Spud did was incredible, but what we found out quickly with Spud, and really the argument as to why Spud didn't screw over Dominique in 86 in Dallas was that Dominique, who should have won it, let's be fair here, the Spud dunks were very basic. It was just you're blown away that he can do it. But Dominique used the same dunks from the year before without any change. So almost a reverse backdoor. You deserve to have lost that. D Brown is a better dunker, but he almost stopped being known. It's like people didn't want, when they won a dunk contest, especially as a rookie, to be known as the dunk guy. Desmond Mason went through that. A lot of guys did, because it was a brand, it was a scarlet letter and a branding that they didn't want. They wanted to be seen as a real player, a guy who could eventually become an all-star. D Brown kind of just became a shooting guard, 6'1" shooting guard the rest of his career. Would play a little bit of point guard. Wasn't great, but was probably a little bit above average. But his repertoire in 91 in that contest was a pretty damn good set of dunks he had right there. Creativity-wise, yes. At 6'1", kind of defying. I mean, that one where he threw the lob and brought it between his legs and tucked it and went over his head. I mean, at that point in 91, with the power he put on that, that's absolutely legitimate. He's the better dunker. Ironically, though, Webb is a better in-game dunker, because D, like I said, it was more about the three-point shot in the 18-footer the rest of his career than he was the three-pointer. Whereas Spud would dunk in traffic in games at times. So Spud in game, D Brown overall, D Brown dunk. Did you get at least 35 minutes there that you didn't deserve or need? Definitely. But you signed up for this ramble. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. 9:15 a.m. Always supporting the chat. I mean, this is great. Thoughts on the BJ Penn situation? Yeah, it's sad as shit, right? I don't smile because I'm laughing at it, but I mean, I don't know BJ's day-to-day or where it's been. I mean, since at the end of his fighting days, although I'm sure these troubles have started before his fighting career ended, because let's not forget he lingered in an almost unforgivable level, 8 straight losses. I mean, I know it's a streak that Tony Ferguson would go on to tie, but even Tony was a little fresher in a lot of those fights. I always felt like that was a situation where UFC just felt bad that he didn't make more money, or that he was maybe their best fighter before the huge breakthrough, and they just kept throwing him out there. And it was already really sad when he was, fighting at the Lava Shack and running for governor and just speaking nonsense, conspiratorial, aggressive, next level nonsense. Yeah, I didn't love that. So I'm not surprised at all what we're seeing now with this whole identity theft conspiracy that the government killed his family and replaced them with. I mean, it's they need to get him care. They need to get him loving care, safe, controlled loving care if he's willing. I don't even know. I don't even know what you would do in this spot, but if there's people out there that care about him, that know him, they've got to do it right now, because this seems like the make or break time and moment, unfortunately. And the sport is still so young that we haven't seen too many tragic endings from the guys that fought too long or fought too hard in their great glorious primes. It's like boxing, we've seen it all. We still have deaths in the ring way more often than they should. We still have so many stars, slurring their words when they're 40, and it gets worse from there. You don't have a lot of all-time great ex-boxing commentators, right? Because the guys from some of those eras, it's like they just went through hell and back just in training camp, just in the gym wars every day. But we don't talk about this like we do in the NFL because of incidents like Junior Seau, right? Or what the WWE had to confront head on when they were losing guys left and right in their late 30s, and then you get the Chris Benoit situation. So yeah, I mean, what else? I don't, damn, way to bring the mood down. 9:15. I'm kidding. Thank you very much. Two Chings, my buddy dates Kenny Anderson and DJ Spinderella's daughter. No, wait, before we go too far, you're telling me Kenny Anderson had a kid with Spinderella? Cut it up one time, because I am old enough to remember when Kenny Anderson married the chick from Real World 2 LA. Was it Tanya? The one who had the incident with the blanket with David, the comedian, when we know what we're talking about. I mean, I had Cowboy John on my podcast here, reliving the 90s together. I remember they had a daughter named Lyric. How, my 90s MTV brain is not going to miss that. I didn't know that him and Spinderella got to. Are you kidding me, Two Changs? You wouldn't spread false information about the 90s to me, right? He says, so this is Two Changs' friend says, Kenny Anderson has some crazy stories about the Rodman North Korea game that he played in. Okay, we need these stories on the BCX. So here's what's interesting. Okay, Chang's going to confirm, yes, Kenny Anderson had relations with Spinderella from Salt and Pepper. Wow. And the chick from the Real World season 2. Unbelievable. All right. I'm kind of blown away by that. You're talking about the North Korea game. So I'd like to see this channel. And I'm going to be honest, I haven't flexed my muscles much on this channel. Maybe the first couple of weeks trying different things, but then you get busy, or then you're just like, I got my core vehicles on here, and then once in a while I'll pump out some new stuff. I don't want to stay in that lane or that mode. It's just the mode I'm in right now, based on I'm juggling a lot of jobs at the moment. I'm trying to make the stream work. Okay. Trying to get to that top of the mountain and stay there. Right. The hell were we talking about here? But I really want to go on this channel and not just get ridiculously random 90s people to interview, but get back into the idea of, my deep basketball fandom and passion for, hoops in the 80s and 90s, whether it's Big East College or, everything NBA, and catch back up with these guys and hear some stories. And I know on the highest end, that's been a trend that's taking off. I mean, All the Smoke right here, the Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson podcast was, that we're in the, All the Smoke Productions is producing MK. I mean, like, this is the era that we're in, and they're doing great stuff. And then you got the Darius Miles pod, and Reggie Jackson's here. Hold on, I got to close this door, Reggie. Reg, the people want to see you. They want to hear about you, Reg. All right. He's doing good. He got 4 teeth removed. The two big canines right there too. But his tongue goes back in his mouth. He's eating like a champ. He wakes me up in the middle of the night and bites my face. He is an assassin out here. So he's back and he's doing great. So Reg, shout out to the people there, Reg. They need you. We need you back, Mr. October. Okay. Yeah. What were we talking about? Probably something really good. Oh, Kenny Anderson, Spinderella cut it up one time. Oh yeah, I know on the high end you're seeing that. You know, I mean, everybody's got a high end NBA pod. I want a mid to low end one. I want the low end theory. I want to get some bench guys. I want to get some journeymen. I want to hear some stories. I want to do that because there was a time, and you can tell me if I'm weird for this. You know what I mean? And thank you, Two Chinks, for your support of the best. You know, maybe the best cat ever. I mean, don't tell Zoe or Emma I said that, but maybe. You know, definitely the best right here. You know, and you could say, isn't he ridiculous? Isn't he just, you know, he lives by an assassin's creed? Yeah, but you'll grow to love that. You'll grow to love that in him. I mean, look at this guy. He has main character syndrome, and he's teaching me how to live my life like that, for better or worse, mostly worse. The point of what I was trying to say here, ultimately, I mean, who knows what the hell I'm talking about at this point, right? No, I can get back there. Like 10 years ago, on Facebook, I would like find and look up like, you know, some dudes that never made it to the NBA, but they were like starters for Georgetown in the early 90s or like, you know, whatever. Or like, oh, that remember that dude who played for UConn when they had Ray Allen and whatever. And I would just as a fan just email them and be like, hey man, dude, aren't you Boubacar Ow? You know what I mean? Yeah, you know, and I get some inside stories as a fan from them about what the coach was like. You know, I'm almost doing a podcast over email. And my friends were like, man, you're really weird and passionate about this stuff. And I said, one day I'm gonna have a podcast where we're just, you know, whatever. All right, enough of this category. I mean, we got to keep this moving. Reg, if you're cool to stay here, then yeah. Saul is here. I mean, that's my guy. That's my guy right there from Louisville. How the hell do we wind up like this? So what are you referencing? What are you even talking about right now? I don't know, but thank you for supporting this here show. So when are you going to join me on this show? All right. From the truck, from the roof. That's what I want to see. Are you a roofer, Saul, or are you just a man? Really, at the end of the day, I don't know. All right. Alan W. Tank is taller than Joe Rogan. You know, that's probably. Wow, they're going to be really close in height in real life. I'd love to see them meet. I mean, that's going to be Spider-Man meme. Yeah, they might both be 5'4". Luke always disagrees. He's always like, dude, it's funny jokes, but Rogan's like 5'7". I'm like, there's not a chance in no. All right. Even Reggie doesn't believe. Reggie, where are you going? Okay. This is Mike G. Mikey. Mike G. Lay out Roofy's most realistic route to the title. All right, let's do that. Reg, you into Roofy or you more into like taking girls out for dinner? I mean, you more of a GM Silva guy? Yeah, probably. All right, let's look at the rankings right now. Okay. I can't. I'm not technologically sound enough to like screen share and do a Luke Thomas, and then plus you probably end up seeing my social security number or something random, right? Yeah, who wants to see that? I think we're talking here about. Is this guy not ranked yet? Not ranked yet. Okay, lightweight. Here we go. I mean, you got to get ranked first. That's for sure. Okay. Yeah, lightweight. I want to make sure I wasn't. My memory can go quickly. You know that. All right. Man, that guy's aggressive. Man, that guy gets after it. Roofy. These fight nerds. Oh, damn. Okay. Dude, Fiziev now ranked 11. Fiziev coming down post-injury on a 3-fight win streak. That's probably too big of a leap, considering this guy fought Justin Gaethje and Gamrot in his last 3. But I don't hate that, okay? I don't hate BSD either. Although, he's going to need 2 to 3. He's going to need, it depends how big, if they're more pedestrian names, he's going to need 3. There's no doubt. But can I say that, I mean, imagine if he can fight a number 14 Grant Dawson. That might be the perfect matchup for him in like a fight night main event to take. That's when you go the leap from unranked and suddenly you're number 11. Well, then you're going to need another step up one. And you're going to most likely cases probably get somebody coming back on the way down. Would it be a Dariush? Would it be a Gamrot? I mean, these would be the type of test you would want. A Gamrot who's going to really push you technically and challenge your wrestling and all that, kind of be annoying on you. Yeah, but we get those 2 to 3. I mean, this division is going to get shaken up quickly. I think if Patty beats Chandler, he's gonna be the guy that really parachutes in. I also want to see like how many will be. I know BSD is coming off a rough stretch here. How many wins would he actually need? Like, I want these younger guys to get to the doorstep again. Can you imagine some of these matchups when you're talking about next generation guys? You're talking about Rufi, Saryukian, Patty, Fiziev, still these are going to be some fun ass matchups coming up. So it's possible. I want to see how this goes. I want to see if there's going to be an old guy that lingers. Is Max Holloway going to reemerge as a lightweight contender? Like, what's really going on here? I don't know that. All right, B-Vol, what do you got for me? Rufi has looked great, but we can't put too much stock in beating King Green today. That's a sober take right there, B-Vol. Thank you. Sadly, King is on his way out. Yes. You cannot keep that daring style up when you're getting to this age. You can't do it unless you're using that for show or bait, and then you're slipping in. You just can't be that gunslinger at this. I mean, you're going to be Melvin Gillard on the regional level soon, and that's probably where he's headed at this point. I hope Gillard's retired at this point. I hope they forced him to stop. But yeah, that was a sad run at the end. All right. Let's attack these. All right, Alan, what are you saying to me here? Boobs. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm with you. Thank you. More Alan W. Please ramp up the PF Changs this Friday, B. I mean, sometimes I get excited. I mean, did you see that? Interesting take. I saw MMA Fighting aggregated it that Shab on his pod said that he believes conspiratorially that the ESPN Plus streaming issues surrounding UFC 313, which led to them making that pay-per-view free the next day, was calculated by ESPN as either like a counter in the negotiation or a payback or so. I mean, that's to the extreme. You rock a mic like a vandal, but that's pretty bold there, Shop. So yeah. All right, there you go. But yeah, listen, I'll try to get a spicy dish going for you. We'll see what happens there. I got to get back on the Reddits. Haven't been on there in a while. All right. Shab is going full Eddie Bravo, says B-Vol. Yeah, Eddie Bravo was sort of the pioneer in that regard of MMA conspiracies. It's the problem is it used to be fun to be a conspiracy guy, and then they got ruined. Now it's not fun anymore, in my opinion. All right, because now everything is a conspiracy. There you go. Jay saying, BC, you missed a few super chats. So yeah, I'm trying to catch up to these super chats. Thank you, super chatters out there. All right. I'm also trying to mix in the regular folk. Okay. Reggie, what are you doing? It's bath time. This guy, I have to say, if you're looking for like if there was a draft prospect in the NBA, you'd have like that pros and cons full screen. We know about Reggie's cons for sure, but pros, probably the greatest athlete in cat history, like could be an Olympian in a few sports. Yeah, dude, talk about it, right? Be about that. Also, the cleanest cat I've ever seen, ever. Just has an addiction level, an OCD addiction level to being clean. And I respect that from this guy. The con list, though, it goes pretty deep, but he's still fighting. So shout out to the Reg. Alan, who the F hates Todd Grisham? I hope people don't. I mean, I get that styles can be, personal and opinion based. I love some more Ronaldo, and maybe that's too theatrical for some folks. Todd can be a theatrical guy. He's also a fun guy. I mean, Todd's got a sense of humor on him, but it may not be your cup of tea when he brings it out in the broadcast. So yeah, but I think that he has really carved out a really fun career and is still one of the best at the knockdown, knockout, fight ending calls. And I think that's the most valuable skill. Now you'd want to be all of that, and Todd has other skills too when you're a play-by-play guy, but to me, that's the That's the long ball. That's the, that's the pot. Like we'll let Rob Deere and Pete Incaviglia strike out 100,000 times during the year. But if they hit 28 dingers for us in 1987, like that's a job well done. And I'm not saying that Todd has limitations around that, but sometimes as long as you have that, you have that. He's got that. He's got that. There you go. Ben Badge. Thank you, Ben Badge, for supporting this chat. How will TKO boxing exist alongside the ABCs? You're talking, when you say the ABCs, I assume you're talking about the sanctioning bodies, the 4 sanctioning bodies that have letter combinations, IBF, WBA, BCBO, but you could be talking about the Association of Boxing Commissions, Mike Mazzulli, the head, who just came out, by the way, yesterday with a declaration in almost response to the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight that said no more of these celebrity fights that are 2 rounds with, 2-minute rounds as opposed to 3 with, crazy big size gloves. Those fights cannot be official fights. I mean, he's dead. I mean, you're damn right. Right. I mean, still I want to say the biggest sin from Tyson Paul. The reality, the biggest sin from Tyson Paul was that they trotted Mike out in that condition and tried to, trick us into believe. Maybe the second worst sin in that was Jake Paul not stopping him. And I'm not saying he had to knock him out cold, but allowing that to just become this, there's a dead animal in the corner. Is anyone going to, clean that up? Maybe spray some air freshener. Maybe the third one of the sins available there was that they pushed to make it a real fight. Damn. But how will they coexist? Well, that's going to be what we're going to find out. And it's hard because, like I said, they got 2 things going on at once. They're probably going to launch with Canelo versus Crawford on Netflix at Allegiant Stadium this September. And if all those things are true, like that's a hell of a introduction. That's a hell of a, it was fun when I helped them call that Callum Walsh fight in Dublin, believe me. But this is, this is like a boxing Super Bowl in a lot of ways. So that's, in one sense, does that big statement from them, is it what Mark Shapiro of TKO said in the earnings call, where it's going to be 2 in 2025 like that and 2 in 2026? And then meanwhile, the rest of their operation will be the long-term rebuilding of the structure of the sport and trying to create essentially a assembly line funnel system akin to the Dana White Contender Series in MMA, where TKO quickly becomes the brand over time. What is that time period? 1 to 3 years, 2 to 5 years, 5 to 10. I mean, it depends on a lot of things, and eventually those 2 visions would merge. My question is, I got a lot of questions, but related to the first vision, like what if that's a monster success? And what if in the meantime, like I really need to see, are these promoters that have been taking turkey money hand over fist for the last year and a half and acting like they get along at the wedding with the other side of the family because, we're all making the same money, but then essentially got their heart broken last week where Turkey came out and made this big presentation, was like, Dana and I are going to crush all of you, and this was the plan all along, and blah, 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 where rightfully so, we're seeing comments from Eddie, from Oscar saying, I felt offended, or I don't agree with that, or what have you. Like, I really, really want to see the next few major big fights is somebody in that Riyadh season circle, which is basically everybody but Al Heyman, to be fair. And even Al Heyman has let some of his fighters cross that street. Are they going to make a big fight without Turkey? Whether that means Bivol Benavidez, which imagine if Bivol Benavidez happened in Vegas in a PBC pay-per-view and your boy got to call it. Like, that's one of those moments where it's just like, whose life am I living right now? Like, are you kidding me? I don't care ultimately who presents that. If that's the next fight, it would be awesome. Or something like, did you see that tweet from Sky Sports in Britain, the television network, that said Usyk and Dubois are in negotiations about a potential summer super fight at Wembley? And Turkey responded in the in the tweet thing of like, wow, good luck, or something like that, where you're like, wait, does this mean they're trying to do this without him? Because don't forget, just a few days ago, right, when the Bivol Benavidez rumors were put out there, and some even said, hey, they were largely put out there by Ring Magazine Online. So is this one of those, we're just sharing the news with you, or is this one of these calculated negotiation moves like Turkey admitted to Mike Coppinger he ultimately did in getting Canelo to turn away from Jake Paul and sign with him when he did 48 hours of misinformation. I don't know. But we remember Turkey's tweet from late last week where he was basically like encoded words saying, hey, Bivol, don't forget who loves you. Don't forget who made you the biggest purchase of your career. I'm not interested in this Benavidez fight. It's his way of basically saying, I want to do the third Beterbiev fight. So I'm not going to bid on that on the Benavidez one. And if you don't respond to me soon, this offer is going to leave the table. I work quickly. Something to that regard. And you're like, I mean, we're used to fighters having beefs with promoters, whether it's, Dana and a litany of fighters, Bob Arum and fight. I mean, like it happens, right? Oscar and Canelo, Oscar and Ryan Garcia at times, it happens, but it's pretty brash if that's all true. So that I think plays a lot into my questions to try to answer your question of like, if that's what's going to happen soon. And you do hear Dana even saying essentially that he believes Turkey has commitments for the next 18 months with a lot of these promoters through a lot of these Riyadh season things, whether it be the Ring Magazine series, the prospect thing, that WBC's tournament that they're doing across 8 divisions. Like there's a lot of stuff going on right now. Maybe if Bud Canelo is such a monster success, like how quickly does TKO become, while also trying to reimagine the sport through this new conveyor belt factory line of getting, probably second and third rate guys to start, probably throwing some bags at some big names. But when they're trying to build this, how quickly do they just become Turkey's Riyadh season presenter? And can that happen with DAZN and the situation they're in? Well, Saudi put $1 billion into DAZN. So does that mean they get to call the shots? Like there's a lot of interesting stuff right there. And is everything that Dana's saying in Turkey saying about what it will look like, where they really only want one belt, whether that's the Ring Magazine belt or the TKO titles that essentially would be created? We don't really know. It's still uncertain. But if they go that way of openly violating the Muhammad Ali Act and, probably figuring out ways to get around it legally, or, we still have questions, would it even be enforced? Has it even been enforced? Could you enforce it if fighters are signing TKO fighter contracts in another country like Saudi Arabia? Like there's a lot, listen to the John Nash and Kurt Emhoff pod on Boxing Esquire for more on that topic. A very interesting debate that almost like there might not be something stopping from a violation of the Muhammad Ali Act. Well, if that's the case, then no, I don't see them coexisting with either, when you say ABCs, like I said, either the 4 sanctioning bodies. I mean, are you seeing this weird sort of battle that's going on Twitter between the WBC, who after Turkey, when Canelo faced off with William Skull at that press conference in Turkey, pushed away the guys that were trying to bring over all of Canelo's belts, and it made it seem publicly, and we're not really sure if that was his intention, but it made it seem publicly like Turkey was saying, I'm done with those belts, even though this is an undisputed championship. The only belts that matter are the ring belt and whatever this ceremonial belt I have right here is. And then suddenly all these WBC fighters are posing with their WBC belt on Twitter saying like, I'm proud to be a WBC champion. Well, then Turkey kind of called them out for it. And then Mauricio said, no, we think TKO is great for boxing. We're going to wait and see. And, oh, by the way, I didn't tell those fighters to do that. This was just their natural response. And now today I saw Steve Kim shared, and I don't know if it's a Photoshop doctored thing. I don't know if they're being set up. I don't know. But a thing that made it look like a DM that was sent to every WBC fighter. Look, like there's as Igas Klimas, the great manager of Sergey Kovalev and Usyk and so many others, Lomachenko, as he once said in that sound drop that used to play ad nauseum on the Rafe and BC show, prepare your horses for the war to come. There's a war to come. And the alphabets aren't going to go down without a fight. The remaining power promoters are not going to go down without a fight, especially if TKO is literally like, no, we're not working with any of you, which is what Dana's saying now. And there's still a lot of unknowns and what ifs. I can give you a whole 30-minute, reasoning why the TKO takeover isn't even going to happen or real or has such little chance to succeed and everybody's crazy. And I can give you the complete opposite with great points of why the built-in advantages that they have even if you're only focusing on the endless money reserves that they can reach for, that inevitably they'll win. And I think there's good arguments. And hopefully we're going to have those arguments tomorrow at 11 a.m. and Inside the Box. But there's a war coming, and it's going to be fun to see. And I'm sure people are going to pick sides. And this is very obviously ambitious what TKO is trying to do. But if your question is the Association of Boxing Commissions, and like, I don't even think they want to mess with, I mean, they have to, you need to get commissioned. So, but I think you're talking about the alphabets. I feel like this is Turkey and Dana trying to do what boxing is certainly needed. The alphabets have run amok. This is a debacle, not to mention the proven time and again corruption and controversy of promoters paying. And it's like, there's been FBI wiretaps that have proved this. You also can tell at times, why is there a unbeaten fighter who hasn't fought anybody and has never fought outside of his obscure country, the number one contender in the WBC? Like, why is that, right? Like, of course. But at the same time, as a true pure boxing fan, as a hardcore that has been through the wars, has been through the Cold War of Golden Boy and Top Rank on separate sides where it was like American and National League, have been through the HBO and Showtime Cold War, have been through it all. The crusty guys, the grungy guys, my people, right? Are we going to sit here and defend the alphabets? Well, I think we kind of are, because you have to ask yourself, do you want boxing to go in the direction that TKO is building? Because that direction does not play with others. That direction is a monopoly, a super controlling monopoly. And if it leads to us getting nothing but banger super fights in a true UFC structure to this broken sport, and you can see the future and tell us it's going to be all about that, then I'm not telling you that it's necessarily an awful thing. It may be the answer to all of our complaints and concerns. But there's a lot that comes with this TKO equation that goes into fighter pay, fighter treatment. It goes into how much they've watered down UFC. WWE is still red hot right now with storylines, but I hear fans being very upset with the jacked up ticket prices and the adjustments that have been made in some ways to get more money out of there. TKO knows how to wring that. They know how to wring that rag and get all that liquid out of there. It's almost leading us purists in crunchy granola old school boxing fans to go, man, I hate me some of these alphabets. You know what I mean? Mauricio Suleiman, nice guy in person, speaks a lot of BS. Super champion BS, so much BS. The WBA, don't get me started. But is this the equivalent to, Genesis in the Bible, where the Egyptians are on their way to the promised land? They're like, man, this sucks. This is too hard. Let's go back to slavery in Egypt. At least we know what we were up against. At least we know the score. I don't know, as a pure crunchy granola boxing fan right now, maybe what we had is, we still got great fights. There was a lot of BS. I don't know. This is an interesting time. This is a dangerous time. I don't know. Are we going to exist for the next 5 to 6 years of TKOs in one lane? And they did poach a few big stars, and the aging stars with the aging promoters are left over here, and we'll see who's going to win out. And spoiler alert, the one with the most money will win out. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to disappear in 2 years. I don't know if them announcing this so early was only to help build leverage on these TV negotiations that TKO is doing with UFC, where they want to, like WWE before them signing that $5 billion Netflix deal, they want to get a maximum tentacles, multiple network type of deal. You know what I mean? How much does it boost their chances by announcing this boxing thing so early? It's so early in the sense that they say they're not going to do a sort of league thing with younger fighters for maybe even 18 months away. But it's not so early if they put out Canelo versus Bud and it kills on Netflix. And by the way, I'm not going to be here and get mad, because it's awesome that a fight that great with stars like that would get the same Netflix upfront exposure that Tyson Paul got. And Tyson Paul wasn't the fight, obviously, for that exposure. And thankfully, Serrano and Taylor did the fight that they did, and now they're going to be able to spin this into their own. There's a lot of positives there. Even with my concerns for TKO, boxing going on Netflix for major monster events, that's insane. That'd be amazing. That'd be wild. If that becomes a overnight success, TKO might get into a power position quicker than we think. But yes, it's still the questions that need to be answered about, can they do this without working with everybody else? Is Turkey smarter than we think, from the standpoint of how close he has gotten to all of these major fighters, especially these young guys? I mean, you see him tweeting about Abdullah Mason, and you're like, oh, that's interesting. I mean, remember the talk on Twitter the last couple of days about this Virgil Ortiz fight against Murtazaliev, and Virgil Ortiz Sr. comes out, is like, we're not negotiating that fight. What are you talking about? And then Main Events Twitter, which is probably, I assume that's Kathy Duva clearing those tweets, was like, we just got an offer from Turkey and we signed it and said yes to fight you. And they're like, oh my God. It's like Turkey, like, we know that Top Rank got upset from that article that was out there, that Turkey bypassed Bob Arum and Todd and went right to the fighters. Like, that's what he's doing. That's why what he would say publicly when he was feuding with Canelo, it would always end with Canelo, call me up. No middlemen. I want to talk to you. I want to meet with you. So how aggressively can that turn into these fighters getting out of their deals and ending up with him? I don't know. When it happened back in 2013/14 with all of those Golden Boy fighters separating from Oscar and going with Al, and that's what launched PBC, and there was some drama behind the scenes with Oscar and rehab. I mean, that's a thing that we don't normally talk about, although Leonard Ellerby brought it out during the Tank Ryan fight week and was kind of talking about it again. But that was a different scenario. Richard Schaefer was an employee of Golden Boy who was, I guess, in theory, deceiving Oscar and Golden Boy in the hope that, Golden Boy would align with PBC and be the house. I don't know. Who knows what's really going on there? But could we see something like that happen in the game, where Turkey can get these, maybe some of these stars having only a couple fights left on their deals, and then they come to him right away for the astronomical payment of their lifetime, which will be only bait to get them in to legitimize the TKO operation, so that you can start bringing in the younger fighters at a much adjusted rate. And how much does the fact that TKO is not putting in their own money affect the longevity of their ambition? Does it make it easier for them to succeed and go for big things because it's not their money? Or if they hit early speed bumps, will it be easier for the whole thing to fall apart and them just saying, hey, we tried it, but it wasn't time, or boxing didn't help us, or what have you? I don't know. I don't know. It's wild right now. So what a time. So tune in 11 a.m. tomorrow for Inside the Box, and Rafe Buggs and I'm sure Ben Badge are just going to go get after it. All right. Get after it, because this is the future of the sport right now, changing in front of our eyes. And I know if you're coming from an MMA side, you might be like, okay, that's kind of cool, but like, we like to watch fights. We don't like to debate who's right or wrong on the signing or not signing of fights. I get that. Unfortunately, in boxing, this is part of the entertainment. It's part of the story. It really is. You really can't be a fan of only the fights, because you won't be happy a lot, or at least not until this current era. That's the one thing that I think Dana's got the wrong argument at the wrong time of, like, boxing's broken, it's so full of shit, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, you can't say that in 2023 when PBC and Showtime rallied to lead the charge with monster fights, and, DAZN was still in play. And you certainly can't say that last year when Turkey's money just exploded and we got super fights, and this year started off with a bang. I get that that's just sort of Danish shtick. It's also a calculated way to try to entrap as many, UFC fans to go, he's right. I used to like boxing until I stopped liking it. He's right. Maybe he can make all these changes. And by the way, maybe he can make all these changes, because we've never even Waddell and Reed got nothing on this. Okay. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Man. I got to let the Reginator out. Hold on. Oh no, he's chilling. He's another bath. It's bath time again. That guy. Unbelievable. I mean, he showers at least 10 times more than I do. Is that the reality of me being a gross basement dwelling journalist? Probably, but all right. Inside the bag, maybe the box too. Check it out, 11 a.m. Tu Cheng says Dana saw how much money boxing was getting from Turkey and went in and poached the big money in the sport. Could be. I mean, Dana also seemed to reveal to Dan Raphael on his podcast that Turkey approached him early on in this takeover from Saudi, and was like, we want to hire you away from UFC. We want you to be the Dana White of boxing. And so if that's true, it leads you to believe that all along Turkey knew it was going to go, because then Dana, according to that, like brought in TKO and was like, no, let's do it this way. And, pretty damn smart when you can bring in Ari and Nick Khan and not even have to risk your own money. Like, holy shit, this worked out for them. But, yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I saw that Ryan Garcia had that soundbite with the Schmo yesterday about Dana White, and Ryan's like, yeah, it's probably not going to work if you're paying what we hear you're paying in the UFC. People are going to get paid up front. People like Ryan and Teo, like those are the guys you would think, because they're still young and they're vibrant. And it seems like as they're aggressive businessmen who haven't been afraid to defy their own promoter or network. Remember Ryan pushing past Golden Boy DAZN to make the Tank fight happen. Teo Fimo forcing that purse bid for that Kambosos fight, in that fight getting off of ESPN and the soap opera that it became, right? There you go. All right. Thank you. We got super chats lining up here. Let's nail these, okay? Ben Badge has another comment about this. TKO has the ops to make more native stars, right? Does ops mean opportunity? TKO has the ops. Thank you for supporting this show. I mean, they're gonna have to. Yeah. Oh, opponents. Sorry, I'm an idiot. TKO has the opponents to make more native stars. Look, it ironically, or coincidentally, Atlantis, you be the judge. This is like the cool or weird or interesting part about it. Like TKO and Dana are going to play the role of Bellator and Strikeforce and WEC to the, but not to the one entity of UFC, like all of those competitors have tried to do. But he's got to utilize some of those strategies early on to get past the growing pain developmental stage of, can they do this in their own silo with their own belts and pushing literally the structure of boxing out of the way. Like I said, like the idea of lowering the weight classes and making one champion for weight class, like how do you not get excited about that when it's baited out in front of you as, this is what I'm offering, vote for me, I'm going to take over the sport. But what's the back end of that? That's the thing. And they're going to have to pull the same type of tricks that, that we're saying, PFL, you need to try this and do this right off the start, because they're going to have to sign enough active talent who matter, but already have figured out how to oil this machine of this factory. And if you don't think that's what Dana White's Contender Series has become for MMA, it's 1000%. It's a way to reimagine how the sausage is made in the sport from down in the roots. I mean, I thought that guy, MMAI, that guy who used to have that channel, last year before, I thought he had the best sort of breakdown expose, almost even, of like how that machine actually runs. That all of these promoters whose promotions are kind of financially kept alive by their deal with UFC Fight Pass sort of become the middlemen. That's why all of them are promoter / manager, that you've got to sign and go through them to get handed off to the Dana White Contender Series, where Jason House or somebody else will be waiting for you. And that's, and you come in at that low rate, and that's how they redo. That's obviously what they're going to try to do in boxing. But it's like, once they merge it all, and I say once they do, because we think they're going to merge the idea of handling the bigger fights with the idea of building the next generation, and eventually it's going to come together. How quickly? That's the biggest question right here. But they're going to have to find a way to bring integrity to their titles, because if their titles are won by, and obviously no disrespect to Callum Walsh, who I think is an exciting prospect. It's fun watching his rise, knowing that he's kind of got preferential treatment, but also he's stepping up and delivering, even if he's not a 5-star blue chip prospect. He's fun, and it's like, those guys you want eventually to become your champion if you're TKO, but you want them to go through aging names who matter or used to matter to do that. So it's sort of like they got to have enough stars in there, but then have that next generation ready, so when you merge it, you kind of get those older salaries out of there, because those younger guys coming up through the system. And of course, they're probably going to do a reality show. They're probably going to almost recreate the Contender, right? Which kind of probably spawned or influenced the Ultimate. Which one came out first, the Contender in 2004 or the Ultimate Fighter? It's probably, one influenced the other in some way. All right. Tu Chang saying the opponents are yo enemies, the ops, the Thig boys. This is a Reddit joke. Sometimes I don't know where I am. All right. This is Remix saying, sorry I'm late, BC. We are yet another week closer to world peace, thanks to the BCX. Are we really? Is that what I'm providing? Am I providing world peace? I'm just providing a lot of intimate cat updates. That's pretty much it. But yeah, man, that's what we're striving for, okay? Live your life joyful, passionate, hopeful, optimistic, battle-tested. All right, let's go. Let's live a better life here. Okay, let's go. Ben Badge is back. Sorry, BC. Ops like operation. So you weren't talking about opponents. They have the staff. Okay, so yeah. So Dana's saying that, like, he said he had a huge meeting coming up. Was it this week where they're just going to begin building that? Who do we hire? Which matchmakers? Which, whatever. They're obviously going to have to bring in absolutely legit inside boxing people, and I'm sure eventually you're going to see people cross that picket line and they're going to pick out a couple, call up some of these top promoters and find out who's really the champion behind the scenes and see if you can free agent pull that guy. I mean, that's the type of stuff I think they should be doing, recruit heavily. And they're going to have to build it all up from scratch. I think that's why it's going to take time. That's why they're giving you sort of that 18-month timeline. But my question is, because I assume Bud Canelo will do nothing but succeed on Netflix, is like, how quickly do they just become the full presenter of Riyadh Season and Ring Magazine TV? And what network will that be on? Because some people just assume they're going to walk. Eddie Hearn is saying it like matter of fact that they're going to walk in after Top Rank leaves ESPN and take that deal. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if it's dependent upon a TKO bundle in the UFC rights negotiations right now. But they're going to quickly build up staff. And what happens if the TKO monster of pay-per-view succeeds so quickly that while Turkey still has these deals with some of these other promoters, is there a way Turkey can kind of merge everybody and say, okay, UFC for now, UFC, you're going to just run the production, but I'm going to bring in my fighters that I've got pre-existing deals with. And, eventually they're going to be our fighters because they're going to wear out their deal and come with us. I mean, you could concoct a thought process that Turkey has been calculating this, and he probably has from day one, and thinking, okay, we'll lower the guard of these guys that'll be our future opposition by winning them over with money, while secretly, we're building the path to hand over the power to us for the future. It's interesting, very interesting. Is all of this as conspiratorial as I'm making it sound? I mean, not everything probably. But if you're new to the boxing business, this is the kind of BS that's going on behind the scenes all the time. It's always a land grab and a huge fight, and always. It's the Wild West. And it's about to get wilder, okay? Yeah, there you go. TKO has the operations. It's going to be how smart they matchmake that and how they mix old and new. It's yeah. Also, like, how much is their product, especially once they get the younger fighters going, how much is that going to be purposefully a disruptor in the boxing space? Like, can they be the car wreck ECW version of this sport? Well, I'm not saying illegitimate. I'm just saying, like, what if they kind of purposely go, we got to hire as exciting as we can. And like, you're only going to get a certain level of fighters that aren't already tied to promoters in a system. But what if they're just goal early on? Let's make bangers. Let's make fun car crash Tuesday night fight TVs. I mean, you heard Dana saying that would not be a bad strategy to get that going. That certainly would not. Reggie's back. He's got a lot to say. There you go. Tu Chang's top 5 young fighters that TKO should target. Well, I almost don't want to breathe life to this because, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is going to be what we want. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's just inevitable either. I don't know. But in terms of the young fighters, I mean, really good idea for Turkey to be tweeting about Abdullah Mason, obviously. Keyshawn Davis would be a guy that I've just, I mean, you guys know I love Shakur, but Shakur is getting, closer to 30 and ready to now have his biggest fights. Keyshawn's like 24, 25. So those two, which are with Top Rank. But that's the thing. I know they're saying, which I thought was a big reveal from Dana at the post press conference UFC 313 on Saturday, saying, no, if I don't have to, I don't want to work with other promoters. But think of how UFC was actually built to have the success they would ultimately have. Buying out Pride at the right time and bringing those fighters over, merging with WEC at the right time and bringing those fighters over, buying and shutting down Strikeforce at the right time and bringing those fighters over. Is there going to be an equivalent of that in this sport? These promoters are not young. Is this actually the Vince McMahon 1980s WrestleMania takeover, but in boxing form? Where, you know, he went, when Vince took WWF National in 84, which would lead into the Rock and Wrestling Connection, which would lead into WrestleMania 1, which would build the future that would, you know, continue, is continuing, even without Vince. Rightfully so, Vince. You had that one coming. Lord. But, you know, Vince would go one by one to the competitors regionally and say, I'd like to buy your territory. And they'd say, hell no. And he'd say, okay, knowing that he's going to single-handedly, diabolically crush them by coming into their markets, first of all, and counter-promoting, by buying out airtime, radio time, TV time, just flooding, you know, but trying to get their free agents signed. I'm just shooting off my hip right now. But Frank Warren's not young. How expensive would it actually be given the deep wealth of, because think about it. Saudi didn't officially take over golf like they thought they would. And I know they flirted with other sports and have deals and or you know, whatever. But they're going this aggressive because they literally feel like they can take it over. And by the way, they've sent the blueprint where, like I'm saying, I'm not sure if it's just not inevitable. Like I said, I can give you an hour of argument of why on the complete opposite could be true. But what if they're buying out 2 or 3 promoters where the promoters are basically like, I'm not going to be able to compete with them? I mean, is this the right time if a war really is coming for all of these power promoters to team up and get a huge TV deal? Yes, but just like when they tried that with Super Clash, you know, when Jim Crockett and AWA and World Class Wrestling and Memphis Wrestling, you know, they're all coming together to try to save, but it turned, you know, they had a couple pay-per-views, but it quickly became a debacle and they screwed over each other and all that. I hope this leads to more traditional powers right now looking around going, okay, we got to work together. And we just did under Turkey, but we got to do it ourselves. It would be fun. That's when you're getting the Monday Night Wars out of boxing. And that would be fun. The only thing we had, probably the last time we had that, and you can, probably 2013, when all of those Al Heyman fighters with Golden Boy deals left HBO to go to Showtime along with Floyd. That's when you had, it was like boxing's roster was almost cut in half, and it was, you know, which side do you want it, you know, East versus West type of deal there. And they're not going to work together. And that part sucked. But I mean, what if they can quickly acquire a couple promotion stables? Now you're cooking with gas. Now you can speed up the takeover process. But with boxing being the Wild West, you're probably just as, if not more likely to see the opposite. Not the dream opposite of everybody laying their ego on the table and saying, we need to come together for the betterment of the sport. Like when Dana rips on boxing, the one thing he's always going to be right about is a bunch of swinging corporate raiders, pirates that are just like, you know, F you, I'm going to get mine right now. I mean, yeah, that's what the sport is. It's the, you know, it's the wildest business room. There's no rules. There's really no rules. But I think it'll just lead to the backbone of these guys going, and Eddie's saying it already. Eddie's saying, I'm the best promoter in boxing, so I'm not worried. And I like the cockiness of him to come out and say that. But a lot of these promoters are going to have to get back to being the promoters they were when they were, you know, still climbing and still building their name. And I hope it'll wake them up and but there is ways that they could come together for big events only. Could come to get, you know, I mean, I gave you that Super Clash comparison in the 80s wrestling, although that, I mean, there's got to be an adult in the room though that's not going to be corrupt that could make that work. But I think it's going to breed in the next couple of years craziness and fun craziness of people taking swings. And the last time we had unnaturally birthed sort of that feeling in the air was probably post-COVID, where a lot of people lost money in COVID and couldn't afford to put out as many dates. And yeah, there was creativity with Top Rank getting the MGM Grand Conference Center, and that's our COVID bubble. And PBC doing the same with Showtime and Mohegan, and Eddie Hearn going to his damn backyard, right? I mean, it was cool. But when they came out of COVID, there was definitely a motivation where we got to get after it. So that's a good early fuel for this last few years becoming a very, very good era in boxing, a great one, even one in which they're taking the headlines from MMA often. But it really was when Showtime and PBC go, we might have a chance to save this with Paramount, so let's bring it. Everything we've been stockpiling, all the canning of jam we've done in the basement in case times get lean. Let's make a feast. 2023 was a feast, even without turkey, right? What if we get that? What if that's the byproduct of TKO making moves? And maybe it'll be fun and crazy to see them if they can. Like, will all of these promoters turn their back and say, no, I'm not joining the evil army? Or will one of them sell or one of them merge? I don't know. That's going to be an interesting curve right there. I probably just said the same thing in a circle for 40 minutes. I'm sorry, but I'm a passionate man I'm working. I'm solving the world's problems in my head as we speak, literally as we speak. All right. We already hit that. Thank you. Remix is back. Remix, thank you for supporting this show. Damn right. Yeah. All right. What is your go-to Chinese takeout order? If not Chinese. Oh, I always have Reggie hair in my mouth. You'd think we'd make out. I don't. He's everywhere, If not Chinese, then pizza deli takeout order. I came up a generic dirt ball who only ate General Tso's because the general can get down, right? Obviously, I've evolved. In the Asian realm, I'm a heavy Thai guy, okay? And then there's this one restaurant around here that's Thai / Laotian. Shout them out, right? So I'm down on that angle. And we got so much Thai around here that, there's levels to greatness and fast foodness and gourmetness. To me, that's the jam and the gold. I'll go Japanese though, of course. And I've got a few favorites in that area. But maybe, do we have great Chinese in Connecticut? There's a couple really good ones, but I gotta be honest, it's still looked at as like the fast food Asian food because that's the culture we grew up in a lot of ways. So I don't eat Chinese often. That's a long way to say I don't eat that often. But I'm probably at this point going to get a combination of probably like the beef with the broccoli. I'll get down like that. You get me some badass flavored beef strips done in a certain way. That could move me. That could change my life. I'm in my and for pizza. I'm in my, and this is a controversial, spin. I'm in my meatball and pineapple era, and I'm not afraid to say that. All right, that's sex on a slice right there. All right, that's yeah. All right. Two Changs. Eddie Hearn going 0-5 versus Warren was wild. I'd like this stable. Yeah. So I also have questions. Like, I know Turkey's kind of got, he's like deals with these guys. He's put millions into multiple promotions, the sanctioning bodies, the zone, $1 billion. They pump the money around to make sure people will, I guess, cede control or preference to him. But I wonder if we're still going to see some of the things that were talked about, a USA versus Mexico or a Puerto Rico versus Mexico or a Eddie Hearn versus Oscar De La Hoya. It was kind of fun. And I didn't even hate it. Did not even hate it when PFL and Bellator did that after merging. That was one of the better things. Yeah. Yeah, there's some spelling errors going on here, though. Tu Cheng says stable, I'm stoned. Yeah, we guessed that. We did guess that. Yeah, that guy Tu Cheng goes hard in the paint, I'm sure. There's no doubt about it. All right. Kevin G, BC, have you had some deep, long-winded conversations with any AI chatbots? Yeah, no. So this is one of the early old man decisions I've made. Even to my potential job and evolution detriment, I really want nothing to do with AI, GPT. I barely allow this Alexa in this room here. This is where I'm going to draw the line in the sand and say, from here forward, I will be purposely technologically challenged because I've seen the movies before where we fight the robots at the end for freedom, right? You know what I mean? Maybe that comes in the timeline before Soylent Green. It's made out of people. There's no doubt about that. That's more dystopian, full-on Armageddon times. Are we already on our way there? I don't know. That's more, check me out on my political Patreon afterwards. Yeah, right. But no, I'm not. Every old person's got to draw that line. A lot of guys, it's the cell phone. It's like, no, I'm going to do the flip phone thing until I'm 85. Okay, all right. Yeah. Project Zeb, the war for AG1. Great sponsor, AG1. Great taste. Makes me feel good. I got no issues with AG1. Thank you. All right. Robert Thomas, Luke Thomas's father, in theory, right? I want to push you around. I will. I've taken you for granted, but it's not your fault. All right. I have wished, as backwards as this is to say out loud, as a friend of Luke Thomas, and I am a friend of Luke Thomas. I've got a lot of love for Luke Thomas. I always wanted to recreate the Good Will Hunting scene where he would play Matt Damon and I would play Robin Williams, and but the thing is, we would have to bring up his childhood trauma, and I would let him know it's not his fault, but that's art imitating life a little bit too close to that. I had some wild ideas in prime Showtime budget MK, you know what I mean? Think like High Court, think like Next Level on that. All right. I mean, our documentaries, you either have never seen them or you hate them, or maybe that small percentage of you who really realize that's the real art. That's that, when you go in even crappy liquor stores nowadays have that like fake room where they have the high price. It was like 80s video rental stores always had the adult room behind the curtain. I mean, always. This is like that, where it's like, that's the expensive one. That's what these documentaries really were. Will they be again? I don't know. I hope. I mean, I had a lot of hopes and dreams, but I need some more ways and means. That's what's going on. Okay. Coming from afar. Reggie, are you back? This guy's working overtime to try to open that door. 2 Chainz. I don't even know if I ended up answering this question, but I gave you 2 fighters at least. I mean, Bam Rodriguez. Yeah, Bam Rodriguez is what they should go after. I mean, I'm not saying, I'm saying if anyone was in TKO's spot and you're looking at the roster of boxing and the young guys who have next, I mean, how about that heavyweight Moses Atalma? I mean, does that guy who's a Turkey favorite automatically become a TKO fighter? I don't know. Can you even sue Turkey? I don't even know. Like, that's the thing. It's like when we're talking about the potential violation of Muhammad Ali Act, like, does it even adhere? Does it even matter to overseas business? Probably not. All right, hold on. I got to let this cat in or out. One of the two. Go ahead, dude. All right, 2 Chainz. Wilder versus... So Michael Moorer is your Monday matchup against Deontay Wilder. Oh, okay, so one by one. Deontay Wilder against Southpaw Michael Moorer. Dude, that'd be a hell of an entertaining contest. That's one of those ultimate, like... Even though Michael Moorer can punch for sure, but that's where he would have to definitely use his slickness as a smaller man to stay out of range of that big right hand. It's weird. It would almost flip the terms. No, it would almost repeat the terms of Foreman Moorer, although Moorer like kicked his ass for 9.5 rounds. Like, in this case, yeah, I mean, he'd box, but it would be boxing to punching. Look, the way Wilder has fallen into his current state of aftermarket washed, I mean, most likely, yes, for sure. It does take away from who he actually was in his prime, the danger level he brought really against any level of competition. I mean, that first fight Fury was put on a masterpiece outside of the rounds he didn't got, but he still got, and then he got robbed in that draw, of course. Rafe's right. I got a lot of friendship and general courtesy and love for Lance Pugmire and Dan Rayfield, 2 of these colleagues I love those guys, but I'm never going to forgive them for scoring that fight a draw. All right. Wilder Fury won. And I love that Rafe holds that grudge on that. Certain grudges are allowed in boxing. in that regard. Wilder versus Holyfield. Holyfield's going to figure that out. He's going to get inside on him. He's going to ruin him. Prime Tyson, pre-jail, pre-Douglas Tyson is going to knock him out. And I think Mike has the chin to take a certain more level of punishment than most could to get to that knockout. So yeah, Mike's not, yeah, Prime Mike, dude, yes. Prime Bo is going to be a problem for Wilder. Great chin, 6'5", and is an in-fighter. Fast hands and is an in-fighter. It's a bad recipe for Wilder. Ray Mercer will, you know what? Ray Mercer might, okay, the Ray Mercer of the Lennox Lewis fight from 1996, that guy will win against Wilder. But because that's the best version. That's the most motivated, most well-trained, most whatever. Outside of the fact that he was a great amateur, not just a military boxing star, but an Olympian and a medalist, I believe. What was that, 88? And but he would get got at the wrong times in his career or get upset by somebody like old ass Larry Holmes when it was supposed to be his time. And I know Ray eventually did get a heavyweight title, and I've always loved Ray Mercer, but that's definitely a guy where you're like, a couple turns went differently. Could have been a super elite, but he might get caught by Wilder. So I'll give Wilder a chance on that one for sure. I mean, he's gonna have a chance against everybody. We know that. All right, let me chip away. All right, this is going to lead to diarrhea, isn't it? Danger Mouse, are we burying the hatchet right here, Danger Mouse? That's my guy. That's my English bloke right there. I mean, I wanted to meet him in the receiving line at the London show. I think he was anti at that point. All right, BC, if we're talking takeouts, food, I have to ask you where you stand as regards to Indian curries. What's your strength rating? Are you a korma snaffling? Is that a, I don't know what that was, or are you a minimum respectability madras man? So I will disappoint the hell out of you by letting you know that I have very low tolerance for spicy food, hot food, and I have tried to push myself at various points to get to that next level, whether it be wings or it be back in like 2019 and 2020 on the road for MK. I got in my era of God, that sounds like a Taylor Swift reference. I think it is, of like getting the road pad thai, but getting that spice level jacked up just to the next level. But medium spice varies in its level of intention by the place, so there was a few times where I'm like, man, this is a challenge, but it's like, because when you step up the spice level, it's almost like eating mushrooms or something. I mean, like you're going through a roller coaster. You're going through a psychoactive life roller coaster. And I was swimming above my weight. You know what I mean? I was going deep into fights. I was winning the battle, but then one dude will just jack that spice up a little more than he probably should have. Okay. No means no, and medium means medium, sir. All right. All right. My ass can't handle this. I was getting shut down after like 3 bites. I'm like, I know where this is going. I guess I did. Rather than play myself the old fashioned way in the bathroom, I played myself in the same way as what the hell's the guy that sang that when he was on the Hot Wings episode, Hot Ones, and he was like, "Yo, I'm quitting the show right now," and that was the best episode ever, and it was hilarious, All right, I do like Indian food. You would think I'm an old uncultured swine. Words of Luke Thomas. But I can't go deep. I can't go heavy on the spices. And it's like, it's like an every 5-year thing. Every 5 years, I'm like, no, I got the balls again. I'm going to step up and be a better man this year. I'm going to increase the chest hair growing, the growation of it. I'm going to man up. And it's just like, I don't actually have to raise the bar that high when I don't just hit my limit, when I get KO'd. And when you get KO'd around the wrong group of people, it's embarrassing as hell. I mean, am I the only one that's ever been at a Buffalo Wild Wings and no one told me that the wings that the friend group just ordered were all jacked up to like, a level that, I mean, I'm a solid hitter in A ball, I don't know if I'm ready for AAA, but you know, when you get shut down, when you're like, when there's fluids just, you know, coming out of your face, which is turning different colors, you can't hold a conversation. I don't, you know, I don't want to be there in public. You know what I mean? All right. How do we get here? That's the thing. Octopus with no friends says Luke eats, creates, and shits bigger turds than him. Oh, this, you guys are having your own conversation of a Luke versus MMA guru fight. Who would win? Yeah, that's exciting stuff, I think. Yeah, right. All right. Let's I'm gonna hammer these one out. I'm gonna thank you for being here today. And sometimes I wonder if anyone's even out there. All right, thank you. We're gonna hear from Saul. Oh yeah, I mean this guy's just dropping some Nickelback right on me, but this song actually still holds up and still rocks. And then by the way, the damn Nickelback documentary made me feel bad because those seem like nice, regular dudes. You know what I mean? I guess I don't have that much sympathy for them, but they seem like they seem like they could hang on MK. All right, couldn't make it as a wise man, couldn't cut it as a poor man stealing. So I do gutters, not roofing. Thank you, Saul, for setting me straight. I've been calling you a roofer for wait. Can you come do my gutters? I got gutter issues, bro. I've just been too cheap to address those. You know what I mean? Put out the BC signal and I'm there. All right. How about this? Saul? I'll defy the wants of this crowd who says, no, we don't want guests on the live chat. We want we got a lot of BC today for better or worse. All right. We'll open the live chat with Saul next week if he's done, if he gets off the roof in time after fixing those gutters. I mean, Saul, are you for this new trick of buying the new gutters that have like the layer on top? Is that what you install, the top layer that covers it? Is that worth it? My gutters are just, you know, they're old. So they're like, they're not going in the right direction sometimes, you know. All right. Sandine is like, yo, I'm here. I'm always here. Sometimes I just work during the show. Sandine, what's your day job? That's what the people really want to know. All right. All right. Let's hear from J Ray Blow, J Ray B02, supporting this channel. Would you like to see refs publicly sanctioned? The fact that we know Derek Larley, Sal D'Amato, Chris Lee, Adelaide Bird is proof enough that they suck. Do I want do I want them like stoned in public and you know have to be at like when you go to Busch Gardens and you put your head and your arms through that thing for that photo op? Do I want them to do that? No, I want accountability. I think like I don't want these people to lose their jobs, but there's a level of egregiousness like Adelaide Bird and Canelo Triple G1, like CJ Ross's 114 scorecard and Floyd versus Canelo, where if you're doing that at that level, you should have to go back through some form of training or whipping or something behind the scenes, you know what I mean? Or fined, or I don't know, but it shouldn't be like, oh, we'll just roll you out at the next big fight. Maybe you'll get it right this time. Like there's no, but I would just rather have them have the opportunity to defend themselves in a non-argumentative manner. I'm not saying that that would be easy or always fair, especially who populates combat sports journalism these days, you know, to have to, I don't know what the rules would be. Should they be made available every time? Should these guys have to stand up on a stage with all this, you know, random bloggers and the damn schmoes over there and have to, you know, account for why they scored it that way? I mean, I don't know if that's the right answer, but there's got to be some form of transparency and communication about that. And they really could fix that by appointing a person on the commission, whether it's the head or the mouthpiece, who meets with the referees and judges afterwards if there's a controversy, and then comes back and is a representative of the state, of the commission, and says, look, we talked about it. Here's why they did it this way, blah, 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 blah. Is that the answer? That's a better answer than what we have, which makes it feel like, and we went through this in boxing a lot, you go through this a lot in MMA, of like, man, it's the same judges and refs and 80% of them blow, which isn't fair. But yeah, there you go. Thank you for being here, though, Jay Ray. All right, this is NYM. Have you ever seen the new Governor Penn video? So that's the one thing, even though we talked about Governor Penn earlier and his fairly epic downfall here, I can't watch these videos. They're heartbreaking. They are. They really are. Damn. I mean, who's bringing down this mood, NYM? You know what I mean? We were high for a while here. Right? Yeah. Man, that's all one about Nickelback. Now I'm back. Now I want to go watch the end of that Nickelback documentary. I know I just dunked on them earlier, but I mean that's the thing. Like they don't fully suck, but let's not act like they don't. The opposite of fully suck, right? I don't know. Dr. Sweatpants is supporting this show. What did you think, BC, of the customer experience at the Sphere? No bathrooms before the doors, no bathrooms before the doors open. Yes, you're right. Unorganized security lines, lobby with stupid AI robots. Does the UFC return? No, I don't think, and Dana's even saying this now, and he's probably right. He's like, you're not hearing anyone talk about going there. And no, I don't know. It like, okay, look, the Sphere is awesome and it's overwhelming and it's incredible and it's art and there's a lot to love about it. But is this the beginning of a new trend, sort of like these new bars that are popping up? I don't know where they are, where the screen is curved and it's like right in your face and it makes you feel like you're basically front row at the fights. Like, are we going in that direction so fast that eventually that will be mass produced and watching stuff like this won't be like right now they can charge $350 or whatever the heck the tickets are for these big concerts face value, because to be fair, it's like a once in a lifetime experience. That doesn't mean you couldn't go again, and couldn't, experience that the same thing or something different. But will this become normalized and commercialized enough that it brings down the prices that inevitably it happens again, where there's a big combat event there, but not in the way it is now, because I think it had to feel like a more of a tragic tale for other promoters watching what Dana went through. I mean, they needed that turkey money to make that work. Like TKO wasn't going to pay for that. And, if you read the MMA Draw, which I do, shout out to the writers there and the truth telling that they do and their aggressive coverage of TKO, they were saying that, according to their reporting, that it was a major issue between TKO and Dana about the price of that. And it was, Dana's big statement and big art project. And that's why I'm always going to applaud him for taking that swing. Like, somebody was going to do it and he put a lot of effort into doing it, but no one's going to recreate that unless Turkey specifically is like, now I want to use my money on that again, right? Rather than Times Square or Alcatraz or whatever. So I guess that is in play and is possible, right? Because Turkey's basically the partner now but there's also people that question, if I want to get back to that TKO conversation briefly, there are people that question like what Turkey's role is, because this is Sela that actually made the deal with TKO, but it's the government's money and Turkey's sort of the conduit that provides. I don't know. Like, it seems like it pisses Dana off that Turkey jumps the gun on things. What will be the long-term role that Turkey plays? Is he actually the one that's making the fights and calling the fighters? It seems like right now he is, and he's pulling those strings, but is UFC going to take that off and sort of stiff arm him back and be like, we got it from here? Probably more likely. Yes. But you actually, you spent the time to write a real question. Like, BC, I didn't ask you about any of that stuff. Okay. Customer experience at the Sphere. Once the doors open though, and the bathrooms, I mean, the food's high priced, but I will say the food was pretty decent. The merch is astronomically way overpriced. I know that it's gimmicky to have that room, the sort of like the main waiting room before you go into the arena that has the merch and all that. There's a lot of the AI and a lot of like it's almost like you're in a cave and there's hieroglyphics on the wall. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on. But I think it's kind of cool because when you're there, you're expecting, I'm going to be wooed, blown away. This is the future. This is space. This is larger than life. So that's fine. I got no issues with that. I really didn't have issues because I used the bathroom a bunch. I really didn't have issues with that. I mean, there's set break, the crowds are out of control. And I actually thought the staff was very well suited to deal with the fact that most of the people in the crowd are like, tripping balls, right? So like they had you could see them the way they would funnel people in the right direction. But then when you go to the bathroom, you're in a outrageously long line. But what are you going to do about that? There you go. I think I hit it hard. All right, let's get through this. Let's nail it. 9:15 a.m. Thank you, brother. Old rumors like Richard Gere or Manson, you heard. Oh, you're taught that was in response to something I said earlier. I forgot what I was talking about, but the Richard Gere rumors are Charles Manson. No, not that level extreme. No, not that level extreme. Those are two different extremes. Very two different extremes. Yeah, there you go. 9:15 back at it, and thank you for supporting this here. Old music band concert you'd put at the Sphere. Yeah, I love this conversation and this topic. Like I know the Eagles are there right now, and it's sort of, it's a cut and paste Eagles because Glenn Fry's passed away, and I know his son was fronting the band for a while. Now they got Vince Gill, who's a solid sub in for the Glenn Fry role, but like I even wonder how old are Henley and Walsh to try to roll out there and recreate that. Dead and Company works because it does sort of perfectly bridge the gap of monster nostalgia mixed with the fact that there's a vibrancy and youth within the band, from John Mayer to O'Teal on bass to Jeff on keyboards, even though Jeff and O'Teal are, not John Mayer's age, and John Mayer's my age. So we're getting, we're getting pretty old, but there's a vibrancy mixed with the classic there. I think you need that. You know what I mean? You need that. Radiohead, Tool would be sort of like special in their own lane of how you would really orchestrate the fact that so many bands for years have done a really good job of putting a screen behind them and playing art on it, right? Matching it up with the songs. Wilco used to do that. Some Wilco back in 02 and 03, and they really made it a show with the back thing. We've seen light shows from bands, glow sticks from Fish. Like we've seen a lot of that stuff going on. But the what you can do during a show with the whole screen and the fact that it goes over your head and behind you, and you may be on your worst behavior in terms of substances that night too, so it's an experience. It's a roller coaster experience. You need a band that you not only are there for the band to see from their own abilities and set list what they can do in a space like this and how much they can raise the bar in terms of their performance and your expectations for that. But they also have to have a sound, in my opinion, that would make the soundtrack for the visceral experience that I have to assume, a third or more of the audience is there just for that. Or they're going, okay, yeah, well, I kind of like the Dead. I like some Dead songs, but I'm here for that. Or if you were there for U2 or Fish or, whoever played there. And the music's got to have that right vibe or energy to it, I think, to really make that art experience exactly what it is. It's overwhelming whether you're sober or not. It is an overwhelming, oh my God, I got to sit down type of thing. And if you really dial into it and and live it, it's pretty wild and wacky. So I mean, like I don't even want to say like a Pearl Jam or someone like that. I mean, it's gotta be, you gotta kind of be an artsy band in that regard too. It really works with the Dead. I'm sure it was great for Fish. I mean, could you imagine Pink Floyd in there? Even even a bastardized version of old, and like a Dead and Company version of Pink Floyd, where you've got some of the originals. I mean, those guys are getting old as shit, but I mean, Pink Floyd would be just, that'd be wild. That's the perfect band that could make that something so out of this world. I mean, I'm trying to think of somebody who's a little proggish. I mean, could you imagine a prime like Rush there or Yes? I mean, I'm sure it could get in that lane pretty incredible with the theatrical and how you can tie in the art. But yeah, all right, there you go. Can we knock all these out? Okay, here we go. Cocoa Beans, thank you for your Canadian loonies. Thank you for supporting this show. Hey, BC, when can we get that chin story you wanted to save? Almost 1,000 subs. Did I say I have a Chin story? I said I've conversed with Chin over DMs before. Shout out to Chin. I don't think I have a specific Chin. Are we talking about Chin from? Are you talking about my Chin? I don't know where we're going with this, Cocoa Beans. Okay, but if we get to one, am I at? Are you saying I'm at almost? I got more than 1,000 subs. I don't know what you're saying. I'm gonna be very honest with you. Okay, but thank you for playing. Thank you. Have I teased that there's a story and that it involves Chin? What do you got, Chin? Oh, oh. All right. All right. I don't know what that was in response to either. I'm pulling out of the timeline here. Kansas at the Sphere, Sandine says. Yeah, I mean, a prog-ish band, a psychedelic band. You kind of need those sort of baseline elements in that. I mean, what could Rage Against the Machine do there when you tie in the substance of their lyrics and how you could melt? Yeah, that could be interesting too. There you go. All right, let's take this home. All right. Let's take this home. Oh yeah, Run Dem Cheeks. That's my guy right there. That's my guy. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. Hey BC, what's the worst movie you ever saw in the theaters? That's a great question. Okay. Oh, I didn't see. I was gonna knee-jerk response say Natural Born Killers with Woody Harrelson. And I know that people love that movie and that there is a certain critical element to it. I saw that at a friend's house. I didn't see that in the theater, but I actually ended up not finishing that movie. I was like, this movie's so like sick to the level of scaring that the 16-year-old version of me, or however old I was when I saw that back then. But in the damn theater. All right, I saw Weekend at Bernie's 2 in the theater, and that could fit this dynamic. I saw Ghost Dad with Bill Cosby with my cousins once. That was a particularly awful movie. Like, what's a stinker? I mean, the worst is when you're excited and then obviously it turns into a stinker faster, where you've talked yourself into it being pretend. Like I talked myself into Creed 3 being something it and probably never had the chance to be. I still think they could have. And I like Creed 3. I actually like it. I know people hate it, and they particularly hate the Dodger Stadium final fight scene that gets a little bit weird. Maybe it's comparable to that unexplainably weird WrestleMania match in Orlando that time with Bray Wyatt, when all those, I'm talking about, when the worms were played from the projector, and you're like, what are we doing here? Yeah. Sometimes you'll talk yourself into a sequel deep into a series, and you'll be like, man, it's going to work. It's going to be good. I'm going to see it. But yeah, I mean, it's funny. In life, especially in sports or in love and relationships, you'll remember the losses at a far deeper, more visceral level than you'll remember the wins. But movies, man, I focus on the wins. I mean, I could tell you the flip side of that. I could tell you how many times, like so many kids have had that magical turning point moment when it's the right movie at the right time, like The Karate Kid when I was 5, or Rudy when I was in 7th grade, or no, 9th grade. And I cried in the damn theater in front of my friends. That was so poignant to me. All right. I don't know if I've ever admitted that in public. Wow. All right. All right, we're getting to the end here. We've poured we've like TKO with MMA and UFC. We've poured every drop out of BC in this chat. But thank you for playing and watching. We hit that earlier. Thank you, JP. Thank you. All right. I just didn't delete these. My bad. Alan back with some Nickelback talk. If Poison have staying power, so can Nickelback. I mean, you're right. Poison does have staying power, and Poison, through a lot of ups and downs, have I'm probably speaking for myself, but they're a cool ass band in hindsight, and they were always a pretty damn great live band. And I saw them at times when you thought they would be washed, and I was washed at the time in terms of the life I was living. But I saw them front row back to back in like 02 and 03, and they were awesome. And it was like a nostalgic see at that point for sure. But that's a band. It's like you want to try to find a way to hate them, but then you're like, man, CC really does rock. And Brent Michaels is pretty damn cool. Okay. We are live, coming back with I cried at the end of the Robbie. I loved seeing him cry, man. Because you know how much that guy normally is like a rock, a damn cyborg, right? Damn. Robert Thomas, I watched Beer Fest 13 times in the theater. I don't believe you. Not for a second. Although I did see Billy Madison four times, I think, which is a lot. All right. All right, Jay here. That's Jay Allen. That's my guy. big boxing guy, Jay Allen. Okay. What are your thoughts on Ariel's Lou DiBella interview? I was very hesitant at the thought of TKO entering boxing, but after hearing his take, I may be leaning towards this is a good thing. Thoughts? So yes, ultimately that was a very good interview, and Lou's always always a great interview. I mean, Lou has this relationship with me at times and with a lot of journalists where like he'll just like call you in the middle of the night and rant for a half hour and then be like, yeah, that was off the record. Talk to you later. Bye. So he's always been a watchdog of the business and smart ways when you consider that, he built his name and his Hall of Fame backbone off of, being maybe the best TV executive, in boxing modern history of the run he had on HBO, but then told them to F off, went on his own, started his own promotional company, had some big moments and some big fighters for sure, but then also went through years of sort of every time you talk to Lou, he wants to get out of the sport because it's so broken and corrupt and ridiculous. So it's like there's a lot of good podcasts out there, like I said, on this topic, whether you listen to Dana himself with Dan Rayfield, and then you got the Boxing Esquire pod with John S. Nash as the guest, where it's almost the complete opposite of the arguments on in a lot of ways why it won't work. This was interesting from Lou because of his perspective, and don't forget that he was also a key cog in the early PBC days before they eventually parted ways with him, and tied into the Wilder going to the zone thing, if I recall. So it definitely got a little political there, but he painted an optimistic picture, but he also, I think, was realistic about some of the built-in advantages that they have right now. And, first and foremost is always going to be that pipeline of money. But Lou is heavy on and this is not wrong, on the, like, I know knee jerk, we want to get mad, because this is an outsider coming in, but he's like, they're have the potential to change and do things that long ago. And maybe it helps that Lou has claimed, like he did in the interview, that, he sat down with the power promoters before and tried to pitch something like this for the betterment of the sport. And, that's not the way the sport works. It's, unfortunately, right? They're sharks and pirates in this game. And the biggest ones are coming together now with Turkey and Dana. So it's worth your time, though. It really fleshes out. And, and Ariel's obviously a fantastic interview. So it really fleshes out a lot of the tentacles on this topic and the what ifs and all of that. So, yeah, thanks for your support of this chat, Jay. And, Lou's a smart, hilarious, entertaining guy. He's probably always been the best podcast guest, consistently since this art form came around. And also, he was an underrated color analyst when he worked. I heard him on Epics. Remember when Epics did a couple Klitschko fights and a few other ones during that run? I think they did. They brought an American stream for Carl Froch versus Lucian Bute, which was a classic night at the fight. So yeah, Lou was good in that role. I wish he would have been given more chances, just like I wish, and I think he does himself too, that I always wish PBC would have had made Lou their Dana White when they launched. And I thought it would have been interesting, the relationship he could have had with the media, given that he's a guy that people kind of believe in and trust, even though he's also flamboyant and not afraid to, push the envelope or air necessary conversations publicly that, that should be about what's wrong with the sport. So I'm not surprised that he was more pro ultimately in wanting some of these things to change. I'm wondering if he could be the type of guy, by the way, that TKO could help themselves by acquiring and getting that knowledge, because his knowledge is so deeply versed in promotion, marketing, television, etc. There you go. All right. Oh, here we go. Here's David McCaslin. We've seen this man before, but thank you for supporting here. He says, I saw Nickelback a few weeks ago. Oh, no. Oh, no. One of the 3 worst shows I've ever been to. Also, don't forget to check out the Gaslight Anthem on my list. Okay. I had to check out Alan W.'s movie, which I think we're going to get to in a second. But yeah. Oh, that's disappointing to hear. That is. Just like the end of their documentary was. I didn't finish it yet, but when they started making, and I was not following this side of their career, recent years, making like strip club anthem songs, it's like, all right, cool. Yeah. Yeah. All right. That's great. Yeah. It is so disappointing it's devastating when you see an act live, and longevity is different. Some people can linger for a long time, and they might lost their fastball. They may be only 60% of what they used to be, but they can fudge it, and you just endearingly want to see them. But the moment you see somebody cross that line, it's like that Everclear video going around, or the Sugar Ray video going around. Or no, yeah, the Sugar Ray video going around, where it's just like they're off key and it sounds awful. And Cita told me he had a similar experience with Everclear, and I had it with Dickie Betts, one of my favorites, who recently passed, and is probably my second or third favorite guitarist of all time. And I've seen him so many times, but when it got to the end, it was like, yeah, I didn't want to be here anymore. I don't want to see this, but I support it. I support it. All right. Alan W, thank you, saying it's competitive because Tim. Oh, so this is back to when I was talking. See, I gotta catch these in real time better than that. You don't think that fight is it's competitive because Tim Tszyu, you're saying, is not elite? Well, he's got to prove you wrong here, coming off of 2 defeats, and Thurman's still got enough juice as an old man. Yeah, they are aligning if they align here. If Tszyu gets past Joey Spencer at a better time than if they would have aligned last year. And maybe the last year fight would have turned out very interesting, because maybe Tszyu isn't everything we thought, or just hit a specific. I mean, look, you can't fault Tszyu for the Fundora fight. First of all, he's manly enough, took it on short notice, had the vicious cut, fought through it like a warrior, and never went away, and was close-ass fight. So I don't damn him on that. Obviously, the way that the Murtazalia fight fell apart and how he was just a sitting duck target, something happened wrong. And I don't know if it was the reality of his dad being back in his life, and and there at the fight for the first time since he was young. There's those weird family dynamics that you never know. But I think that's a good development for PBC. Thurman's still got some gas. Let's go. Alan also saying, thank you, sir, put out an APB for Thurman's hairline. Dude, it is that thing. Speaking of Zoe the cat fighting through adversity, Thurman's hairline is fighting the good fight, and shout out to him for it. He put that little line in to kind of maybe take the attention off the front, but it's just like his career. It's hanging on right now, but still showing some life. So I love me some Keith One Time Thurman. Damn right. All right. Alan W says, I demand my Lampley fan sub to be shown on Friday. I'm going to check with Mikey on this. Mikey, are you here? Do we have a Jim Lampley fan sub from Alan W? If so, we probably need to play this, unless he's showing his piece on it. You never know, right? I don't think Alan W is that kind, though, believe me, but we're going to check that out. Yeah, Lampley will be back, apparently, calling play-by-play. I would think. I don't know if it's going to be the play-by-play, or if it's going to be this new DAZN like alternate stream thing that they're doing, but that is interesting to get him back. Let's see who they pair him with to call that May 2nd Ryan Garcia night with Haney and Teofimo. All right, Alan, thank you for these drop-ins here. You can give us some BCX merch, you don't. Yeah, I got to get that going. We're making steps. We're making progress in that direction. It's just stuff takes time. Not, things aren't always the priority when other things are going on. I've been out of commission with this cat drama lately. Okay, but I'm back. Here we go. All right, it's going to be spring in a second out there. I don't know if you guys were outside at all. Good Lord, it's great. Somebody out there's living in a hot climate going, BC, you can stop talking about snow already. Okay, thank you. Jay Allen, as always, favorite guilty pleasure song for you. Oh, for you, it's Ninja Rap from Vanilla Ice. Dude, that Vanilla Ice song from that Ninja Turtle movie, like, I want to tell you, like, a lot of Vanilla Ice's career and his up and downs have been in L, believe me, from Suge Knight hanging him over the, railing. I mean, I didn't necessarily love his hardcore alternative rock rebranding, but shout out to him. He's resurfaced on a lot. I mean, for a guy that had such a short but quick but huge rise, he has lingered, for better or worse, but if you want to go back and recall what actually the moments, the redeemable, cool as shit moments, him on that song, and I'll say it, it's a cheesy ass C movie, D movie, F movie, but he was cool as ice. And I know that's 6th grade BC talking, but he was cool as ice. Okay, cool as shit, to drop the zero and get with the hero. Okay, I'm still looking up to him right now. I'm still looking up, not the rest of the Vanilla Ice experience for the most part. We Are Live says Sean Strickland met up with Vanilla Ice the other day. That's a hell of a collab right there. Wow. Wow. All right. Yeah, is it a B movie, Project Zeb, or is it a BC movie? That's what we want to know. If it showed boobs in the 90s on Cinemax, it was a BC movie, probably. There you go. All right. Yes, this is the sobriety check that I need. I need people to intervene here, and that's what Rally Sport 92 is saying. Have you seen Cool as Ice recently? I have not. So there's, obviously there's. I told you, even my beloved Billy Madison does not live up to time, and it's sad when that happens. Like, I love me Spies Like Us. Remember how badass that movie was in the 80s? How funny. And it was like a shitty script, and the two, Aykroyd and Chevy, just overachieved and just did skits and bits, probably off the cuff the whole show. Man, that movie sucks to rewatch because it's not even close to where it was in my head in the past. There's some movies now that I won't rewatch because I'm like Ice Pirates. That was like my favorite movie when I was 6. I'm sure it sucks now. It was like a Star Wars goofy remake type deal. There you go. Okay. Alan W., you can go ahead. Thank you, sir, for your support. You can go ahead and listen to the Ninja Rap and tell me it's good. I guess I need to be woken up on a few of these, but the part of my brain that judges that thing, which is probably stuck in 7th grade, like I said, is telling me that right now. Okay, maybe I need not go back. Thank you, Alan. Thank you. All right. BCX homework here from Jay. Is that you, Jay Allen? Watch Cool as Ice. This is a good project for next week. What do you think about this, people? Because there's, right now I got to be talking to just the hardest of the hardcores, the people that are past their limit. They've drinking too much. We've cut them off here at the BCX tap. Let's oh, that's a good take. That's a good take. Hold on. Two Chang's hitting me up here. Spies Like Us is hilarious for the first 30 minutes, then it goes off the rails. I think you're right. And it's always been that way in theory, but Doctor. I mean, come on, it's great. Yeah, BCX homework for next week is let's watch Cool as Ice with Vanilla Ice. The feature movie based on his stardom at that moment. Okay. That's what it is. That's what we're talking about. Alan W is giving out party favors. I love this guy. Alan, thank you for always having this show's back. Mikey's back, my back. Gold Belly, my boy, Mikey, some of that Connecticut pizza. So yeah, Mikey, we're gonna Gold Belly you some of this. And by the way, Gold Belly tastes like fire. It's great. It's great. It's high quality stuff. It's really yummy. I'm telling you. We're gonna get Mikey some of that pizza down there in Florida because Mikey knows. There ain't no good pizza in Florida or most of the country outside of very specific locations. By the way, I don't know if it's like a hipster trend. My sister lives in Colorado. The Boulder area has very good pizza. Very good pizza. We're not competing though, in the rest of the country with Connecticut. And I'm not even a Connecticut hipster. You know that about me, Alan. All right. I don't defend the thin slice to the death. Give me the Greek pizza. All right. The Greeks, they know what was up. Ronnie Cycli, they know what they're doing there. All right. All right, you are owed here, Alan, and thank you for your support. A 5-page book report review on the Bastards of Baseball. So I didn't realize that this was the film or the documentary that you were trying to get me to watch. And I remember when this came out, which was a while ago, I'd seen it in the menu on the streaming services a million times and watched the description. Was like, I mean, it looks good, but Kurt Russell hasn't been cool since Overboard with Goldie Hawn, which is pretty, it was right after Tango and Cash. He was pretty damn cool for that stretch. But I finally watched it. Dude, that was an entertaining as heck watch. So it's a documentary about an independent minor league baseball team in the early 70s. So I had no idea that actor Kurt Russell was of Escape from New York, of Goldie Hawn fame, that his dad was both a pretty high level character actor, getting all those years on, what was it, Bonanza, and also charmingly crazy, and also a baseball addict who grew up in Yankees spring training town and knew all the Yankees. So he starts a minor league baseball team, but it's back before independent minor league baseball teams were a thing, when or were no longer a thing, where all the teams were aligned with a major league team. So they were very stale and regular, and they're just about developing players. This guy does basically a minor league, were they AA? Kurt Russell's dad does a minor league in his retirement Bad News Bears team of cast-offs. It's basically the plot of the movie Necessary Roughness with Scott Bakula. Fantastic movie. Shout out to Sinbad. No doubt about that. It's basically the real life version of that. So it's like Kurt Russell, who I didn't know was a great baseball player, was on there, and you just got cast-offs and never has-beens and people trying out from the factories, and they not only are good, spoiler alert, they're great. And they're challenging the norm. And what you come to find out quickly, Alan W., in this fantastic documentary, is this is really a story about the independent spirit pushing back against the machine and saying it can be done a different way. Because what they found by putting this team in Portland after the long-running team left that had been there, the long-running AA team or what have you, that community was starved for a team like this, and they had that partying, long-haired craziness vibes, and then they were really good, and they're kicking the shit out of these teams with like legitimate players, but kicking them so badly that come playoff time, the teams would bring their players from the majors and AAA down to super team up and beat them. And it really was a real-life Bad News Bears. I was entertained as hell. I got that inside struggle of the little engine that could. And then you get the hypocrisy of the system, because right at the peak of their powers of breaking attendance records and nearly winning the championship despite being screwed over by the man, they got screwed over by the man and sort of run out of town by a major league franchise putting a team there, and sort of the rest of minor league baseball, like forcing them to fold. And Kurt Russell's dad got paid for it, of course, but he never got to take that dream and really, I mean, this isn't like Savannah Banana BS. This is like drinking beer and probably yelling, you know, crazy things and chasing women type of ragtag team. And Sandine coming in to say, was Necessary Roughness Gene Hackman and Keanu Reeves? No, that was the Replacements. Yeah. Two Changs. I went to college where they shot Necessary Roughness. Dude, that no one talks about that movie. It's for some reason it hasn't endured in the lexicon of the categories of like fun, goofy football movie. Yet it holds up. I've watched that with my kids a bunch of times. It holds up, and it's got Kathy Ireland and Sinbad and that guy. The one, remember they had everyone playing two-way except for one guy, the linebacker, and he what did they call him? Jiu-jitsu. What was his name? Samurai. And he was like, they must respect us. I mean, come on. This was my youth right here, this movie. All right, come on. I mean, it's basically the same plot as Major League. It's a football movie of Major League, but we didn't hold that against them. Okay. And Sandine's right. Quantum Leap with Bakula was always an underrated gem. Always a true star. A true, you know. I wasn't a MacGyver guy, but I could get down if I had to. Quantum Leap, you'd be entertained every time. Eric Bolden, very bold of you to come join and support this chat. And as we're putting it to bed right now, thank you. What do you want your family to remember you for when you pass away from cheese, hot dogs, and Wendy's takeout? No, seriously though. First and foremost, I would hope that they know that I love them more than any dad and husband, you know, are tied for first that possibly ever could. That I, you know, tried my best to always, the best I could, silence that the selfish, you know, ambitions that we all have, and really every decision I made, put it for them, and you know, and in light of them, to help them, for them, whatever. And also that I, you know, was a fighter, and I got up off the canvas a few times, and that's the, you know, the greatest hope I could have passed down. My kids are incredible. They're amazing. They're amazing people. You know, and I would always hope that they get from me kindness and work ethic. And I think if you merge those two, you can go anywhere in life. And that's it. I mean, you know, I'm not famous in this house. I'm largely not famous at all, but like, you know, they keep me humble, and that's the best thing that can happen to me. So take care of your loved ones. All right. Yeah. I mean, the best thing I can offer is that I'm always going to be there for them like that. That's my life. It's the path I chose. Those are my people, right? It's my cat. Those are my cats, right? Come on. There you go. The Dino Don Show. BC, as a father of 2 sons, age 5 and 3, what is the single best piece of advice you give me to best fulfill that role? Very easy. You can't go back. You can't gain more time. What you miss, and you might. I tried a job that traveled for a lot of it, and but you got to draw a line and put them first, because what you miss in the prime years of the necessary ones, and they're all important, but the roles you need to play in those years, to teach, or just to be a model, or just to be support, you're not going to get it back, and you're going to kick yourself if you lived those years selfishly and didn't prioritize it with them, because it goes insanely fast. Mine are 17. It goes insanely fast. And I'm so thankful that the years that they were the youngest and they needed me most, I had the hardest jobs and was working almost overnights at ESPN for shit pay, and working all extra hours and not being paid for it, and always being angry and upset. Yet I look back on that. Yeah, I got home at 3 and 4 a.m. every night, but I was home all day with them at ages 2, 3, 4, 5. When I would have, looking back, it's like, yeah, that's so. Don't take it for granted, because it's going to go really fast. There you go. All right. Let me knock these out, and I just appreciate all of you so much. And we're going to put this thing to bed. Yeah, we hit that guilty pleasure. Oh, did I even answer you there? I know I went on the Vanilla Ice rant. Thank you, Jay. My favorite. Yeah, we all have guilty pleasure songs, like mindless pop songs that you're like, nah, that's my mindless pop song. Oh, dude, a few of them here. Okay. Silver Spring by Fleetwood Mac. Yes. Leather and Lace, the duet from Stevie Nicks of Fleetwood Mac and Don Henley of the Eagles. Yes. Magnet and Steel by Walter Egan is a jam and a gem. That's another one. They tend to be soft 70s ones that just live with you, right? Flagpole Sitta by Harvey Danger. Yes. Okay, there you go. Thank you for playing, Jay. All right. I hope you got a 5-page review equivalent there, L and W. But thank you for pushing that on me. A couple more to close. L and W, thank you as always. How are we liking the new Fortnite season? I'm back with a bang, with a bullet. I'm loving it. Right now, I'm exclusively playing unranked, regular, zero build, and I was climbing the ladders of ambition in both build and zero build, even though I greatly prefer zero build. What I've come to find is I can go just as far, up to platinum 2 levels at my peak in build, even though I hate building, because the builders can't shoot for shit. Okay. So I had the ambitious runs of really, being all about, I mean, there's a rush in when you're competing and they have the stats and all that. But I stayed now on the unranked at the highest level. And I think the unranked is as filled with talent at the moment as I've ever seen. It's hard. I compete every time and threaten, of course, to win or finish in the top 10. But at the same time, it's the map is great right now. Crime City is an addictive port of call. Okay. I mean, it is fantastic. Right now, it's working. I'm not even touching the OG right now. Okay. Because this is on Ellen, it's on fire. Thank you. All right. That's it. Okay, a couple more. I can't fulfill all these. Here we go. Let's get it out of here. BC, look what Chang's brought. Lil Lou. Yeah. I mean, by the way, with all these PF Chang's jokes, I just actually started eating at PF Chang's for the first time in the last year, and my kids now love it. So that place, for all we joke, is actually incredible. Shout out to those people. I've been up and down that menu too. Okay, I've taken over on that menu. There you go. Thank you, Gooch. Thank you, me Gooch. Yeah. Thank you for your support of this year. I appreciate that. We're closing out right here. Brian Gill, thank you as well for your Guru gang. Are you an MMA Guru fan? Is that what's going on here? But thank you for your support of this show right here. once again, me Gooch. Thank you, brother. Brian Gill. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, one love, one respect. Final question here. Oh, we already hit that. Okay, guys, that was great. That was great. All right, that was really good. Yeah, you guys rated me, but I enjoyed it. I'm gonna go back with my family and live my life. Thank you for playing today. Thank you for taking care of yourself up here. Put this first, okay? It's not selfish to put your it's not selfish to do that. Tuxedo Mask, what are you saying here? Me Gooch, yeah. Something like that. Something like that. Get to the next level. I'm no therapist or psychiatrist, but I'm now finally on the meds that I need to be at my best. And it's been a relief and joy. And I look back at even, 6 months ago, I'm like, man, why was I allowing myself to struggle so much? Because I was so fearful of getting too deep in the medicine game. And, I wanted to go back, but I'm where I need to be right now. And I'm who I need to be. So find your happy spot. Okay. It's out there. Chase it. You can get there. Clean your gooch. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you to everybody for playing today, for asking legitimately fun questions. And hopefully you enjoyed me talking in circles for a really long time. But I'm going to get out of here and go talk to my cat. Thank you. One love. All right. Peace.